Regular meeting number 43 will now come to order. Can we please stand for the playing of the national anthem? Would you please lead us in the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This evening, Council is pleased to have Reverend Timothy Liggins, Senior Pastor at Bethel AME Church, to lead us in prayer. Pastor, welcome to Council.
Let us all pray. Let us pray. Eternal God, our Heavenly Father, we come to you in prayer, first thanking you for who you are, thanking you for being a God who loves us with an everlasting love. Lord, you are good and your mercies are everlasting. We honor and praise you, for you are God Almighty, the creator of the ends of the earth, and besides you there is none other. You said, come before your throne of grace to obtain mercy and find grace to help in every time of need. So we come to you in prayer, casting all of our cares upon you, for you care for us. Lord, your word shows that you desire to bring the good news to the poor. You desire to heal the brokenhearted, proclaim liberty to the captives, and set at liberty those who are oppressed. So, Lord, use us. Let your good and perfect will be done in and through us. Father, we thank you for the members of this city council, for the entire staff, and for the leader, Council President Hardin. We ask your manifold blessings upon them. We ask that you continue to speak to their heart, so they will have a heart that is after your heart, so that what hurts you hurts them. And what you are passionate about, they will be passionate about also. And what brings you joy will bring them joy as well. We pray your grace upon them in abundance. Grant them the wisdom to lead your people. Grant them the courage to make not the popular decisions, but the right decisions. You've called them for such a time as this. Bless them as they fulfill their purpose to serve and uplift the city of Columbus, the city that you love. Lord, bless this city, that it will become even greater. Bless and prosper each citizen. Bless and prosper each neighborhood. Though we are diverse, we are all the sheep of your pasture. May we learn to come together as one. May we learn to be our brother's keeper. Learn to love our neighbor as ourselves. May we even learn to love others as you have loved us, with an unconditional agape love. And above all, may we draw nearer to you, O God. Now, Lord, we pray that your blessings be upon this meeting, exceedingly abundantly above all that we could ever ask or imagine. And for all of your goodness and grace, we are careful to give you, O God, all the praise and all the glory. In the matchless name of our Savior, we pray. And all of God's people said, amen.
Amen.
And amen.
Thank you, Pastor. Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Hardin. Any person who takes any actions to obstruct or interfere with the conduct of tonight's meeting may be charged with disturbing a lawful meeting pursuant to Columbus City Code 2317.12. Any person who enters those areas of city council chambers reserved for city officials or invited guests may be charged with criminal trespass pursuant to Columbus City Code 2311.21.
Can I get a motion to dispense with the reading of the journal? Please call the roll.
Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Hardin.
This week's communications received by the City Clerk's office are listed on the agenda and will be published in the City Bulletin. Are there any other communications to be read into the record?
Not at this time.
Thank you, City Clerk. Are there any resolutions by members of council? Councilmember Brown.
Thank you, President Harden. I have Resolution 0224X-2018, and as I read it, I'd like to invite Mindy Frank to the podium, please. Resolution 0224X is to recognize and commend Income Tax Administrator Melinda J. Frank for her 38.5 years of distinguished service to the City of Columbus and Central Ohio residents, businesses, and citizens on her retirement from the Income Tax Division on July 31st, 2018. We're getting you just under the wire here tonight. Yeah. More than 38 years of service is a remarkable accomplishment, no matter what field you're in. And I may be biased, but I think that that amount of service with the City of Columbus is particularly noteworthy. There must be something in the water at the auditor's office. Oftentimes, public service can be less than glamorous and can be underappreciated, especially when it involves taxes, as I'm sure you are aware, Ms. Frank. But your work helped set the financial foundation for the City of Columbus and the progress we have made as a community. It goes without saying that a well-managed income tax division is essential to our operations. Although the thanks may not come in great numbers each day, we all owe you a debt of gratitude for the outstanding job that you've done over your 38 years. I am happy that we can recognize you tonight for your service and hope that you enjoy a wonderful and well-earned retirement with friends and family. I'm going to turn the microphone over to Auditor Megan Kilgore, who I know has plenty to add.
Councilmember Brown, thank you. Those comments are absolutely lovely. You know, a lot of us on this part of the stage are elected, but leadership does not always come in the form of elected officials. And Mindy Frank is an example of that. You know, 40+ years of service to the public certainly deserves recognition. And what Mindy has done is really serve as the CEO of a now billion-dollar enterprise. Income tax brings in just shy of $1 billion, and that's something very, very special. Her footprint is all over the state of Ohio, and what she has done so successfully is allow us to transition beautifully because of her institutional knowledge and passing that information on. So Mindy, sincerely, I thank you personally for everything that you've done for my tenure, and we certainly are in better hands because of your leadership. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Auditor. Any other questions or comments? Councilmember Brown.
You see her smiling because she knows I'm not going to let her go without saying thank you. We were together this past weekend chit-chatting, and I found out that Mindy was actually retiring. And I did not know that, and she did not want anyone to know that she was absolutely separating from the city. But that's her way, to be efficient, to be effective, and move on about her business. But this council certainly had to take the time to acknowledge and recognize and to say thank you. And for me personally, for all the years that we worked together, I say thank you.
Thank you so much. Seeing nothing further, I move for adoption.
Second.
Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Harden.
And now, Ms. Frank, the microphone is yours if you have anything you'd like to add.
Thank you. When I turned in my resignation to Megan, I said that during the period of time with the city, I served as a city prosecutor, a city attorney, and then as income tax administrator. I had great mentors in Greg Lashutka and Ron O'Brien and Hugh Dorian, and also Edgar Barkaloo, who many people don't know. But he taught me so much about legislation and contract work that it was absolutely invaluable. And I also said that I've learned something every day that I have been with the city, and I'm pleased that I had that opportunity. Not so pleased that I had to spend a lot of time in the state legislature. That was not my most favorite thing to do in this job, but I really met a lot of good people and have worked with an incredible amount of good people. And I think that the accomplishments in our office are due to the dedication and the talent of the staff that are in the Income Tax Division. And thank you very much for your kind words. I appreciate them.
Thank you. That's all I have, President Harden.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Brown.
Recognize and celebrate EJ's Warrior Karate Academy on representing Columbus in the USA Karate National Championship and U.S. Team Trials. Whereas EJ's Warrior Karate Academy is a traditional karate and taekwondo dojo, founded on the mission to master the art of fighting without fighting, and whereas students are trained not only in self-defense, but self-awareness, discipline, and confidence. The values instilled in these students inspires them to be aware of their actions and to better their community by being ambassadors of peace. And whereas in 2014, EJ's Warriors qualified for the U.S. Karate National Championship and U.S. Team Trials in Reno, Nevada, but were unable to complete due to financial constraints. However, the Warriors continued to compete and qualified again in 2018. And whereas with the financial assistance of the local 67 Firefighters Union, the Warriors were able to compete in the 2018 U.S. Karate National Championship and U.S. Team Trials, and whereas the 8 competitors ranging in age from 8 to 19 had a strong showing at the National Championship and USA Team Trials, the team combined for a total of 7 medals, 1 gold medal, 1 silver, and 5 bronze. In addition, to 4 competitors reached the classification of elite competitor in the USA Team Trials, and 1 competitor qualified for the U.S. National Team. Now, therefore, be resolved by the Council of the City of Columbus that this council does hereby recognize and celebrate EJ's Warrior Karate Academy for representing Columbus in the USA Karate National Championships. In addition, this council would like to commend these young people for making the choice to be a positive influence in the community. Sensei EJ, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Councilmember Brown. It's been a long road. We was very, very, very happy to represent Columbus, Ohio, and they did very well. In Salt Lake City, the 3 students who competed in the men's division in USA Taekwondo and also in Reno, Nevada in USA Karate, we made a huge mark, and just we want to do more work. We want to do more work. We want to get more of them on that team, and anything you could do to support it, we'd be happy.
Would you have each of the students please step forward and say their name and their class and what they were able to achieve?
You want me to introduce each? So first we have Warrior Marlon.
You got to hold him up. He's the 8-year-old.
My name is Marlon Page, and I got bronze medal in sparring USA Nationals.
He did better than just get sparring. If you look at the little clip that I sent to the councilman, he came back and he was down 3-1, and in the last seconds, I mean, he almost fell apart, looked like this, and then got himself together. Came in, he had the stadium roaring because of how he came back, and he won that bronze. So we're proud of him for that. Warrior Ellis, he fought in the men's division, just turned 18, USA Taekwondo, fought a 7-footer. Actually suffered, this 7-footer, let me tell you, was knocking people out 45-0. 3 rounds, 2-minute rounds. By the end of the first round, would be 25-0. By the end of his first round, he was up 3-0. So, you know, he had a good thing going. Next round, got a broken nose. So, came back from that 3 days later and made the USA Karate team as an alternate and brought home 2 bronze.
Hi, my name is Ellis Jennings III. I competed at the elite level in karate and in the world class level in taekwondo. Yeah.
Good job. Warrior Mayer, everybody except for Marlon's from the original 8. The original 8 is all here. Marlon's older sister and Mayer's sister is the 8th member. So Marlon was a baby back in 2014. So this is crazy that he was there and won the bronze. Mayer came on board. He fought a good match. He didn't place, but he fought well.
My name Mayer Bruce, and my thing is I didn't place, but next time I go, I'm gonna try my hardest to make that go. Thank you.
Important to mention that there's a rule called where it's like first blood. So the first person that scores, if it's tied up later on, that person wins. That's what happened in his case. So he did very well. Emmanuel fought 2 good matches, and he did very well.
Hi, my name is Emmanuel, and I fought 2 matches in USA Karate. And after the second match, I didn't medal, but I did leave the boy pretty beat up.
Warrior Elijah is the only warrior that placed in both USA Taekwondo and in USA Karate. He got a bronze. He fought in USA Taekwondo, he fought in the boys 15 to 17-year-old division as well as the men's heavyweight division. Both of these are world-class divisions, which is the top. And he got a silver in USA Karate.
I'm Elijah Jennings, and I got bronze and silver, which I'm very happy because last year I didn't get anything in the nationals, and this year I got medals in both of them.
Warrior Destiny is our only 5-time grand champion. She's 12. She decided not to take the easy way out and go advance and stepped up into the elite division this year. She didn't place but fought extremely well.
I'm Destiny Jennings, and I competed in Carter. It was 20 girls in my division, and I placed 8th place out of everybody else in elite in the nation. And I competed in elite kumite fighting, and I didn't place, but I did good.
It's real important for the girls. They do extremely well, but they so advanced, a lot of them get bored quick, so because of the discipline. But I really want to encourage that program. Just because it's one, I don't want it to seem any other way. Warrior Tommy is our para-karate competitor. It's important to mention that in 2014, when we went to the qualifier in Franklin, Ohio, there's a thing that we do called kata. When the competitors he went against were not disabled, were not handicapped. So when he goes up there and he goes to do his form, you know, and he doesn't place and he's sitting there with tears in his eyes, and I never in a million years would have thought that this would have been possible. But now today in 2018, para-karate is in the Olympics in USA Karate, and we're very proud of him.
My name is Tommy Jennings, and I won gold at the 2018 Nationals in Reno, Nevada.
Last but not least is also a two-sport competitor, Warrior Julian, who competed in USA Taekwondo and men's heavyweight sparring, as well as USA Karate, placing bronze in USA Karate.
My name is Julian, and I'm 19, and I got bronze in USA Karate, Okinawan forms.
Any other questions?
Any comments from my colleagues? Also, I'd like to acknowledge Vice President John Capretta. John, would you at least take the microphone, because I know you don't want to, but what's special for everyone to appreciate, was that I reached out to John Capretta, and they were able to provide the financing for these young men and women to be able to go to Reno, Nevada, when they were unable to do so in 2014. And John knows he has my eternal gratitude for stepping up to make that all happen. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you again. You know the respect I have for all of you up in here. And when you guys ask for something, I try to come through for. I had the opportunity to go over and see these young men and women. It was 96 degrees.
Yes.
Their place where they practice and they train is next to the city pool. So I see all these kids out here, and they're over there screaming and hollering at the pool, and all these people, all these kids here are training, they're sweating, when they could be at the pool. So there's a dedication and discipline that we don't get to see very often with today's kids. And when we can nurture it, we try to. And I'm honored and humbled that we can help you. And he's the true warrior. He's a great mentor for the kids. He's teaching them discipline. And these are our fine leaders of tomorrow. Thank you.
I just wanted again to thank John and the IAFF, because without them, this wouldn't have been possible. So,
absolutely. I move for adoption.
Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Harden.
Thank you all very much. President Harden, I have two issues on resolution but I'd like to acknowledge them because they're under consent. That's 0231X 2018 to declare August 7, 2018 Purple Heart Day in Columbus, Ohio, and express its gratitude to the women and men of the United States military who have sacrificed to uphold the values and integrity of the United States of America. There'll be a program which I unfortunately won't be able to attend, but my colleague Michael Stenziano will, and certainly hope that those veterans who are there are able to come down and participate. Also, I have 0232X 2018 to recognize the 35th Annual National Night Out and commend its Columbus area sponsors and participants for their dedicated efforts in crime prevention and community building. National Night Out is meant to increase awareness of crime, drugs, and violence, facilitate local cooperation and support for crime prevention in smaller communities, and bolster neighborhood unity, and to demonstrate to criminals that community activity participating in fighting crime is best for when the citizens are engaged with our law enforcement officers. The night, therefore, also, this will be on August 7th. We encourage each and every one of you to turn your porch lights on and to come out with your neighbors and get to know your neighbors, and your community liaison officer working together with the neighbors and your CLOs will help reduce crime in your community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Remy. Councilmember Page.
Thank you, President Harden. This evening, I do have a resolution 0237X-2018, and I would like to ask Judge Terry Jamison of the Franklin County Court of Common Pleas Domestic Relations Division, as well as anyone else who is here with her this evening, either representing the court, the Child Support Enforcement Agency, or the Compass Program, to come down to the podium. And again, resolution 0237X-2018. To recognize August as National Child Support Awareness Month and to honor the Compass Program for their advocacy in assisting families throughout Franklin County. The National Child Support Awareness Month was established in August of 1995 by former President Clinton to recognize the importance of child support programs at all levels of government, ensuring children receive the necessary financial support to lead secure and healthy lives. And the Compass Program was created by Judge Terry Jamison in collaboration with the Franklin County Child Support Enforcement Agency in 2014 to ensure that families would stay on the right path and receive support even after the obligor was incarcerated. And the mission of Compass is to help empower parents by providing support services that aid in obtaining and maintaining employment to meet their parental obligations. This program has received numerous awards and recognition for its outstanding endeavors, including the Human Services Award at the 2017 Annual Convention of the National Association of Counties. I would now like to move for adoption of this resolution.
Brown, Page, Remy Stenziano. President Harden.
Adopted.
Your Honor, the floor is now yours.
I'm going to defer to Executive Director Susan Brown from Franklin County Child Support first.
Thank you, Judge. Good evening, President Harden, members of City Council. My name is Susan Brown. I'm the Director of Franklin County Child Support Enforcement Agency. Child Support Awareness Month is a time when we celebrate parents who are working hard to make sure the needs of their children are met. Children thrive when parents work together to provide for their emotional, physical, and financial needs. This is especially important when family structures change, because regardless of the family dynamic, the child's needs remain constant. Each year, the Franklin County Child Support Enforcement Agency serves approximately 80,000 kids, ensuring they have the financial support they need by collecting about $166 million a year in child support. What we do know is the father-child bond is strong, and most of our fathers want to support their children. The CSEA understands for a variety of reasons they have a tough time making that obligation. For this reason, Judge Jamison, the Franklin County Court of Common Pleas, Domestic and Juvenile Division, Franklin County Department of Job and Family Services, and the Franklin County Child Support Program created the Compass Program to help parents find services to overcome barriers in paying child support. And those barriers include unemployment, homelessness, past legal trouble, alcohol and drug addiction. The CSEA has a total caseload of 68,000, which includes more than 58,000 active cases with support orders, representing 1 in 5 children in the county. The Enforcement Department refers an average of 1,500 cases per year to the Litigation Department for judicial enforcement measures when traditional techniques have failed. Many parents who are ordered to pay child support find themselves cycling in and out of the court system, unaware of the resources that are available to them to create and reach their employment potential. The Compass program is, in essence, a deflection program, or a problem-solving court for non-paying parents. It places the traditional contempt process on hold while parents are connected to strong community organizations that assist them with overcoming barriers to employment, their individual employment and parenting goals. Job and Family Services, Franklin County Job and Family Services provides an allotment of funding used to contract with community partners, and we have 2 of those community partners with us today, Jewish Family Services and also Action for Children, who provides parenting support. These services are offered to TANF and WIOA eligible non-custodial parents with current child support orders. So by connecting parents to resources directly at the contempt hearing, this partnership serves to help parents chart a new course towards employment and avoid the punitive consequences of not complying with a child support order. The goal of this program is for parents to be able to support themselves and to make regular, consistent child support payments. So hopefully by providing support and opportunities that have not been realized, offering them services that have not been offered to them in the past, they can change their situation for the sake of themselves and for their children. And just briefly, I have a couple statistics about the program from last year. So the estimated total amount of monthly child support obligation due during the client's participation in the program was $332,314. Estimated total amount of monthly child support paid during that participation was $100,147, or 30%. But impressively, the estimated total amount of monthly child support due 12 months post-participation, which is after participation in that program, was $525,595, and estimated payments paid 12 months post-participation was $202,959, or 39%. And these are cases that have received nothing in the past. Judge Jamison?
Thank you. Thank you, President Harden, Councilmember Page, and all of the City Council members. I'm indeed glad to be here. It is exciting to see the transformation that people experience when they have become employed. Some of the participants that have come to the program have never had a job before, ever. To see someone walk out of that room with a job that is able to help them to not only sustain and pay child support, but to provide their own financial needs and to be able to be a productive member of society, to bring money into our gross national product and pay into Social Security is worth it every time we do it. We do this program once a month. All of the providers come to the court on the fourth Thursday of the month, and they screen the individuals. We link them with the provider at the court so they don't have, if they have a transportation issue, they can link with their provider right then. It's important to note we have a success coach that works with them, follows up with them, and keeps them encouraged as they're going through the program. We thank Jewish Family Services, Godman Guild, Goodwill, Franklin County Job and Family Services, Action for Children, the Art of Positive Parenting, Columbus Urban League, Central Ohio Workforce Investment Corporation, Legal Aid Society of Columbus, the Ohio State University Extension, Bridging Fathers and Families Through Financial Literacy, the National Youth Advocacy Program, and Halt Violence for 4 years. July of 2018 is our 4th year anniversary. And thank you so much for recognizing us and the work that we've done, because it seems like a small thing to us because we've been employed most of our lives. But to see someone go through that transition, to walk into their own housing, to have their own ability to provide for themselves, gives us great satisfaction. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Your Honor and Director, for coming down this evening and for the work that you do to support families and children. And I would also like to recognize Mr. Fred Points, who is with us in the audience this evening, and for the work that he does specifically with the obligors to make sure that they're not only employed, but understanding the importance of maintaining the bond with their children. So thank you and congratulations on 4 years of success.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Page. President Pro Tem.
Thank you, President Harden. I would like to invite Doug Ullman, President and CEO of Pelotonia, and Emily Smith, Communications Manager of Pelotonia, and guests to the podium as I introduce Resolution 0235X-2018 to recognize and celebrate the 10th anniversary of Pelotonia and its contributions to the city of Columbus. So here we are, a decade later, from an idea in 2008 that Dr. Mike Caligiuri occurred when he recognized the need to expand the existing funding for the OSU Comprehensive Cancer Center and the James Cancer Hospital. And so he proposed a grassroots cycling event. In the last decade, this event has raised over $160 million, and so far in 2018, we're over $11.5 million, with a lot more expected before the October 5th deadline for donations. This event is one that I think we all recognize has that one goal, and that is with directing 100% of every writer-raised dollar to cancer research and funding for the best physicians and equipment. You've been able to use that money, support a number of grants and research ideas, and I don't think we could be any more appreciative. In the past 10 years, the event has grown into an internationally renowned fundraising event that has some of the best grassroots support of any event around the country. The impact has had that it's had on the greater Columbus community, not only for people figuring out how to say the word Pelotonia or getting their bikes updated, but for the James and the many patients and families that have benefited from the research and treatments by the proceeds extends truly beyond reasonable measure and explanation. And I'm a little biased. I've got a favorite writer in my wife, but I do look forward to seeing the more than 8,000 writers this weekend, the survivors, the families, just that community support, and then all the people you guys bring together. I know it's a lot of work and really applaud your team's effort on making it so flawlessly done with so many resources, not only in the city of Columbus, Franklin County, but across the state. And so with that, Doug, I'll turn the microphone over to you before we pass the resolution.
Great. Thank you, President Pro Tem, members of council. I've said this before, and I'll say it again, this would not be successful were it to take place in any other city. The collaboration, the engagement, and the way that this community rallies around things that are of such importance to all of us is remarkable. And while the number of donations and the millions of dollars raised is significant, I will tell you the most significant thing is the lives saved. And there are people alive today in this community, across this state, and around the world who literally woke up this morning because people in this community decided to volunteer, go to a bake sale, buy a t-shirt, ride their bike, whatever their participation level was. It had a huge impact on the lives of people that most of us will never meet and never know. And that's a powerful thing. Let me just quickly introduce my special friends and guests who are here. My colleague Eric Olsofsky, Jay Yerkew, Tracy Treon, Kathy Strauss, Emily and Kevin. They are colleagues of mine. They are Peloton captains from GBQ, from Porter Wright, from Ice Miller. Let me note that both Tracy and Jay are 10-year riders. There are only 241 of them, and they are two of a very finite, wonderful group of human beings. So again, we thank you for your support, and most especially we thank you on behalf of those individuals whose lives we're able to touch through the generosity of this city, this community, this state, and this country. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Doug. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I'll move for passage.
Please call the roll.
Brown, Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Harden.
Adopted.
Next, I would like to invite the Greater Southeast Commissioner Ava Johnson to the podium to speak regarding item ordinance 2019-2018. We'll pass later, but I know Commissioner Johnson has been very committed and hopefully excited that we've reached this point. You're a familiar face, and we always welcome you back. The podium's yours.
Thank you. Council President Harden, Council President Pro Tem Stenziano, and other council members, on behalf of the Greater Southeast Area Commission, we would like to give you our sincerest thanks to all parties involved with this consent agenda, CA 54. Something as simple as signs may not seem huge in the sphere of importance to many, but in the words of our eloquent newest commissioner, Mark Harper, it is important to our area commission. These signs push us one step forward in solidifying our identity, expanding our reach, and allowing travelers, whether they're just passing through or their fellow residents, to know who we are and where they are. So once again, we thank you for pushing forward this resolution so that we can have signs in our commission area. Yeah. Thank you again.
Thank you, Commissioner, and thank you to the other commissioners as well. I think we all recognize the great pride you have and know this is another small step to address kind of that recognition and the equity that you've always wanted in forming the Area Commission as we continue to work on your neighborhood issues. So thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you. Thank you.
President Harden, that's all I have tonight.
Thank you, President Pro Tem. This evening, I have Resolution 0234-2018X, and I would like to invite Sergeant Chris Smith Hughes and his family and friends, supporters to come down to the front. Sergeant Smith Hughes is being honored by the African American Male Wellness Walk as their 2018 Health Hero. I've known the sergeant for a couple of years, but I've grown to admire this Columbus born and raised, Columbus City Schools graduate, Buckeye, just Columbus guy who is giving back to his community. Sergeant Hughes is also over the City of Columbus's recruiting efforts, and his work is not just his work, it's his passion. And so I wanted to recognize Sergeant and give him an opportunity to speak, and then open up for comments and pass this resolution. Sergeant Chris Smith Hughes.
I'm just thankful, humbled to be here with everybody. I'm grateful for the African American Wellness Walk Award, Health Hero. I've been in this community forever. Grew up here, East Side kid. Also went to Gladstone, which is a Columbus public school, Spanish immersion. So enjoyed a lot of that. Here I got my family up here with me because these are the people that hold it together for Sergeant Smith Hughes. Just definitely want to thank them and have them here with me. So to expound on our recruiting efforts right now, you know, we're plugging away. We're doing quite well. Just started in January, and my team, officers Will James, Diane Yandridge, Jason Jackson, and Joe Westbrook, along with our chain of command, including our Deputy Chief Quinlan back there. They've been supportive, and we're trying to just bring the best and the brightest, most diverse group we can to our ranks, and that's very important to me, and I know it's very important to you and this whole community. And we want to grow. We want to get bigger, better, and keep doing great things for the community.
Chief, if folks are interested in being a police, how can they find you?
They can actually go to our website right now. Our application period is actually ending tomorrow. Okay. So if they go to www.columbus.gov/police-recruitment, that's a lot. If you go there, you can actually apply today and tomorrow. This will be for our upcoming classes in June and December of 2019. So please apply today. Yeah.
Thank you, Sergeant. And my apologies, Chief. Chief Quinlan, thank you for all your service and your work as well. Do any of my colleagues have any comments? Councilmember Brown.
President Harden, I would, Smith Hughes has been in the department how long now?
Since December 2005.
2005. What's special is his aggressiveness and not settling for just being a patrol officer, but moving forward and becoming a sergeant. And he knows that I'll be pushing him to go beyond being a sergeant to become a lieutenant. The objective is that leadership manifests itself in a variety of different ways, and he has shown that throughout his entire career being on the Columbus Police Division. And I look forward to seeing more and more things, certainly along the lines of recruitment, but within the Division of Police. So,
thank you,
Chris, good to see you, man.
Appreciate it, sir.
Well, thank you again, Sergeant. I'd also like to remind folks that the African American Wellness Walk will take place on Saturday, August 11th at Livingston Park, with health screening starting as early as 7 a.m. with the walk kicking off at 9:30 a.m. Sergeant?
I just want to add one more thing.
Please.
So, the Columbus Police Explorers is a big deal. We want to encourage our youth to become explorers, learn about leadership, learn about becoming police officers, get hands-on with it, go through some different scenarios so you can figure out how to be a Columbus police officer. I think that's it.
That's perfect. With that, I move for adoption. Please call the roll.
Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Harden.
Adopted. And last but certainly not least, we have Ordinance 0236X, and I'd like to invite Ms. Demetrius Neely and Javon Collins to the podium. 0236X recognizes and celebrates the Heritage Concert Series for 20 years of wonderful music and fellowship. If the King Arts Complex Heritage Concert Series is an annual music event that runs through the late summer, showcasing local and national jazz acts. This event brings energy and fosters community in the King Lincoln District, once known as the Cradle of Jazz. A hallmark of the summer, the Heritage Concert Series is a cultural pillar in the King Lincoln District and Columbus as a whole. I have only missed, I think, one this summer, and I know several of my colleagues have been out and are still going out to the Heritage Series. It's really an amazing picture of Columbus. For 20 years, the King Arts Complex has provided that venue for community to come together, and that's why we are recognizing you in your work, Director Neely, and certainly Javon, who manages the hundreds and hundreds of people out there and the acts every week. It makes it seem effortless. So I definitely appreciate each and every one of you. Do my colleagues have any comments before I move for adoption? Please call the roll.
Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Harden.
Passed. Director Neely.
Thank you, Council President and Council President Pro Tem and the other members of City Council. We are delighted that you have recognized this event because this is a real community building event. We have thousands of people each week. Each year, we have about 30,000 people that come out from all zip codes around Columbus. And it is a staycation for some people. It's definitely an economic engine in that area. I left this past week and came down Long Street and Mount Vernon Avenue, and there were tents put up every place, canopies, people selling everything. So it creates economic development in that area, and we love that part, of course.
Yeah.
Everybody gets paid, I think. And it's more than a party, it's a festival.
Yeah.
We've named it from a concert series to a festival because there are vendors, there are artists, there are food trucks, there are people bringing their own lawn chairs, and it is community building because it is every year for 20 years without incident. And I just think, I'll tell you, your former member of City Council said this to me. Former City Council member Herschel Craig said, Demetrius, I saw somebody out here I haven't seen since the 4th grade. So I'm not going to tell Herschel's age, but you know about how long that would be. So it's just a great opportunity for people to come together and just convene and get clean fun. And with that, I'll turn it over to Javon.
Thank you, Council President Pro Tem. Thank you to the entire City Hall. It's just a complete honor to serve our city with the Heritage Music Festival. Being someone from Columbus, Ohio, seeing the Coming Home back in the 90s, but being a part of the Heritage Music Festival is just something I treasure. And, you know, all of the entire staff of the King Arts Complex, our Board of Trustees, especially our Executive Director. But we just thank the city for this great opportunity to have that concert in Mamie Moore Park and the connection to our community as, you know, as we lean forward to our future. But we're happy to put on an amazing concert series, and we hope to see you all this Thursday with Hoodoo Soul Band at 6 p.m. But also, we'd like to thank our entire staff, everyone who's helped out the past 20 years. I've been a part of each concert series for the past 12 years. So it's just been a complete honor. We've met so many great people, and with, you know, you coming by each week, and, you know, former Mayor Coleman bringing, you know, the mayors from Youngstown, Dayton, and Cincinnati, Ohio. And they're just looking at the concert and just thankful and really looking at like, wow, how do we do it? And we're just so happy to do it to honor our city. Thank you.
Would you help me celebrate the Heritage Concert Series? Are there any comments by our elected officials or members of the administration, city auditor? I know we have representatives from North Linden Commission, South Linden, Hilltop. Heard from Ms. Ava with Greater Southeast and Milo Grogan area commissions. I see that Milo Grogan, Commissioner, is here to speak as well. Would you like to come forward? Mr. Tompkins and Ms. Willoughby. Welcome back to council. Oh, Ms. Willoughby's not here. Mr. and Mrs. Thompson, I'm sorry.
Good? Yeah. Well, President Harding, City Council, all the members. Today we wanted to come to say thank you to one of your councilman chairs. On June the 6th, we had Realtor Care Day over in the Milo Grogan community. And Realtor Care Day is made up of all the Columbus Realtors. And what they do is every year they go around to different communities and they adopt houses and they redo the houses for neighbors for free. This year, they went well above their call of duty. Normally they do 1 or 2 houses. This year they ended up doing 20 houses, 1 business, and 1 park in the Milo Grogan community. And every neighbor that they touched was our elderly neighbors, our vets and disabled members. So it was really special. There was over 300, 400 volunteers that came out. You came out yourself that day. It was very, very moving, very inspirational. But Mr. Ramey here, he came out and participated in the event. You know, it's good when you have city council members that actually come out and get involved in the community. And when your community get dirty, they get dirty right along with them. And that day, he got paint, dirt, and everything all over himself, helping out. And the lady's house that he worked on was Miss Silly. And she's a very special mother to our community. And she didn't know who you were until I told her who you were. And when I told her who you were, she shed a couple tears and a couple blessings and everything. But it meant a lot to everyone in the community. It meant a lot to all of us. And as the commission chair, I've been on the chair for I've been in the on-air commission for over 18 and a half years in Milo. I've been the chair a few times. But by far, this was probably one of the most touching things that we could have did as a community, because we had all investors, the churches, the businesses, and everybody was involved in this to make this a glorious celebration. So what we wanted to do was we wanted to show Mr. Emmanuel how much we appreciated him and Jeffrey Carter for being out that day. On June the 30th, we had an appreciation dinner over at the Milo Grogan community at the Tri-Stone Life Center. There was well over 200 people that attended. And what we did is we showed everybody appreciation from the community. We gave the Columbus Realtors a special award, Tri-Stone special award, and also we gave everyone that attended and that was part of this an award. So we passed out almost 90 awards that day to show everybody how much we appreciate everybody. Mr. Ramey couldn't be there that day. So we wanted to come down here today to show him how much we appreciate him from our community, and we wanted to make sure that we handed this to him today. You read it.
Okay, so this says, Certificate of Excellence is awarded to Emmanuel Ramey in recognition and appreciation for your many hours of effort and selfless contribution toward the success of Realtor Care Day 2018 Milo Grogan. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Milo Grogan. Please, Councilmember.
I really want to thank the both of you for coming down. Quite an honor to get an award like that, and thank you for your leadership. You guys are doing great things in Milo Grogan, and the spirit of the community was really alive when we were down there that day. And I kept remarking to my staff that it was an incredible sight to see so many people out, neighbors and residents out, working side by side with this project with the Columbus Realtors, and just everybody making the community better. And so it's great to see this type of commitment and the level of commitment that you have in leadership down there, and nothing could be done in a community without that type of leadership. So thank you. We appreciate it.
Can I do one brief thing? I'm sorry.
Sure.
I just wanted to give a quick update. I don't know if I would have time for this, but just really quick, we have a lot more going on in Milo Grogan.
Okay.
We just had a coffee social for our 50 plus on July 25th, which went really well. We shared resources. They're very excited to kind of re-engage with the neighborhood and have their voice and everything. So on August 4th, we're going to have a yard sale fundraiser in a community, just to kind of fund some of the different projects that we have coming up. On the 7th, we're going to do National Night Out. On the 11th, Tri-Stone is having a health fair in the neighborhood with a mammogram mobile and all of that. Free family fun for the family. The 22nd will be our next coffee social for 50 plus, and that will be held at the Milo Grogan Rec Center. Again, we're going to be going over resources and just kind of re-engaging. And then on the 29th, 3 of us are going to do the big roundtable discussions. The Nate Lapish from the Park Recs, myself as commissioner, and then Amy Gingrich from the Civic Association, just to re-engage and uplift and support the neighborhood. So, thank you.
That's awesome. Thank you for everything you're doing. Are there any requests by members of council for the removal of an ordinance or resolution from the consent action portion of the agenda? Seeing none, may we now have a motion to waive reading of the titles of 30-day legislation by the city clerk? Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Page, Remy Stenziano, President Harden.
Thank you. Will the clerk now read into the record the ordinance and numbers of 30-day legislation on tonight's agenda?
Finance Committee ordinances 2010, 2032, and 2164-2018. Neighborhoods Committee ordinances 2167 and 2181-2018. Technology Committee ordinance 2023-2018. Public Utilities Committee ordinance 2062-2018.
The following ordinance appear on our agenda as consent actions. Will the clerk now read those items into the record as well?
Resolutions of Expression 231X and 232X-2018. Finance Committee ordinances 1817, 1991, 1992, 2051, 2144-2018. Recreation and Parks Committee ordinances 1615, 1617, 1963, 1968-2018. Education Committee ordinances 1889 and 1894-2018. Public Safety Committee ordinances 185-2018, 1971, 2152 and 2182-2018. Public Service and Transportation Committee ordinances 1786, 1950, 1956, 1957, 1958, 1959, 1974, 1975, 1984, 2121, 2127, 2131, 2138, 2154, 2173, 2232, and 2257-2018. Economic Development and Small Business Committee Resolution 225X-2018. Ordinances 2025, 2199, 2237, 2242, and 2261-2018. Housing Committee ordinances 2035, 2156, 2157, 2158, 2159, 2160, 2170, 2171, and 2172-2018. Judiciary and Court Administration Committee ordinances 1203 and 1973-2018. Neighborhoods Committee ordinance 1896 and 2019-2018. Technology Committee ordinances 1405, 2140, 2142-2018. Public Utilities Committee ordinances 1938, 1970, 2038, and 2066-2018. Health and Human Services Committee ordinance 2070-2018. Appointments from the Mayor's Office numbered A0214, 215, 217, 218, 219, 220, 221, 222, 223, 224, 225, 226, 227, 228, 229, 230, 231, 232, 233, 234, 235, 168, 169, 170, 174, 236, 237, 238, 239, and 240-2018.
We have one speaker on the consent agenda, and that is Mr. Nate Wilkins. Mr. Wilkins, welcome back to council. Mr. Wilkins is speaking on in favor of ordinance 2158.
Arlington Avenue, Mr. Lathan George Wilkins, the chairman, solely vacant and abandoned property. I just need to know what's going to happen with 1506 26th Avenue, to how long it has been sitting in the land bank and what will it be used for. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Director, would you follow up with Ms. Wilkins to give him that information, please? Seeing no further questions or comments, may I get a motion for approval of the consent portion of the agenda? Please call the roll.
Brown, Page, Remy Stenziano, President Harden.
Consent agenda carries. We will now move to second reading legislation. First committee to come before council is the Finance Committee. Councilmember Elizabeth Brown chairs that committee. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President Harden. Tonight in Finance, we have Ordinance 2037-2018 to authorize the Finance and Management Director to enter into contract with Byers, Minton and Associates, LLC, for a consulting services contract related to state government relations, to waive the competitive bidding provisions of Columbus City Code, Chapter 329, to authorize the transfer of $60,000 between divisions within the general fund, and to authorize the expenditure of $60,000 from the general fund. The services provided through this contract will include assisting city staff in developing a comprehensive public policy agenda for state government that advances the interests of our city, monitoring all legislation and executive agency decisions at the state level that impact our city, developing and strengthening working relationships with statewide officials and legislative leadership, and further strengthening relationships with local coalitions, business organizations, regional partnerships, and chambers of commerce to enhance city operations. Director Lombardi, is there anything you'd like to add? And in doing so, can you please speak to the competitive bidding for this ordinance?
Sure. Thank you, President Harden, Chair Brown, other members of council. As you had indicated, the administration wants to increase the city's presence at the State House and with state agencies relative to our position on policies and other issues that might arise from the state. Many of our central Ohio communities have representation from government affairs firms, and this is what we're doing with this legislation. Byers-Milton has a proven track record and has experience at the state level, and we believe that they will be the uniquely qualified to help us and represent the city and the administration at the state level.
Thank you, Director. Are there questions from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Second.
Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Harden.
Thank you. May I move to Recreation and Parks? In Recreation and Parks tonight, I'd like to invite up for Ordinance 2243-2018 Ms. Zurka Abed, Mr. Siat Mohammed, and their guests. Ordinance 2243-2018 is to authorize the Director of the Department of Recreation and Parks to enter into a grant agreement with My Project USA in support of the Wedgwood Youth Soccer Program, to authorize an appropriation and expenditure within the Neighborhood Initiative Subfund, and to declare an emergency. My Project USA works to protect and empower youth by providing access to healthy, fun, and educational programs. With this goal in mind, a soccer team was established last year in the Wedgwood Village apartment community, which is home to approximately 2,000 children who benefit from access to programming that provides a safe environment, an outlet for physical activity. The soccer team was a tremendous success, which is no surprise given the popularity of the sport in the neighborhood. Interest and demand soon led to the development of a year-round program. With the financial support we are providing tonight, the youth soccer program can expand even further with the addition of multiple new teams that are expected to engage hundreds of children each week. This structured and safe environment for kids to play soccer provides a platform to engage with them, provide positive role models like Siat, who's here with us today, and guidance, and empower them to make their communities safer. Zurka Abed, the president and founder of My Project USA, is here this evening. Thank you so much for your ongoing work in the Wedgwood community. Thank you, Siat, for your leadership as a near-peer mentor to so many kids in your neighborhood. I'd also like to thank council members Jiza Page, Emmanuel Remy, and Mitchell Brown for their co-sponsorship of this ordinance. Before I turn the microphone over, I would also like to thank Director Tony Collins, who really worked with us to make sure this program is a collaboration. Director Collins, is there anything you'd like to add?
Thank you, Councilmember Brown, members of council. Appreciate your efforts on this project. We believe that all of our programs at CRPD should serve all of our residents in Columbus, and this program will be a part of our efforts in a collaborative effort with the YMCA of Central Ohio. To provide some center programming, Recreation Center Without Walls type programming at Wedgwood, and we look forward to working with My Project USA on making sure that's implemented.
Thank you, Director Collins. Mr. Mohammed.
First off, I want to say it's a blessing. I feel honored to be here. So this is my first time speaking. So just a little bit about me. My name is Siat Mohammed. I'm 20 years old. I basically grew up in Wedgwood, and I remember coming here at the age of 6 years old when I first came into America. So I really don't know any other neighborhood other than the one that's mostly talked about as being the most dangerous neighborhood in Columbus. So I remember just being a young kid, I never had the opportunity to be involved in any sports or never have a way out from what was going on in the neighborhood. So thanks to a few people that came up and they started something with soccer as a young kid, So I believe if it wasn't for the soccer that was going on at my age, I don't think I'd even be standing here with you guys. So that actually gave me the idea to create a soccer program. So I told myself, just let me graduate high school, not even go to college, just let me graduate high school, and I promised myself that I'm gonna start a program that's gonna make a difference, and it's gonna give an opportunity to the kids in Wedgwood. So at first I had no idea where to start. I was just wanting to start this big program. I didn't know where to go, I didn't know where to turn to. And then I saw Zarka, and I saw her, she was helping out in the community. So I personally went to her, and I went to her office, and I just sat down with her and I talked to her about this idea of what I wanted to do. And ever since then, she's just been so supporting, and she's helped me come far. So if it wasn't for her help, I don't even think this program would be possible. So I want to thank her. So these are some of the kids. I wanted them to come along and see the faces that are making a difference in their lives. So that's about it. Thank you guys so much for everything you guys do.
Thank you, Siad. And I want to also highlight that you and a few of your peers actually came to City Hall to talk to us about all of the work in Wedgwood that you've been doing, that you pioneered out of your own ideas and worked with Circa to implement. And that advocacy is so important. That advocacy is why we're here tonight. So thank you for taking it into your own hands and empowering others in your own community. And Ms. Abid.
I'm also feeling very honored and blessed to stand here with these young people. And Siad's testimony really makes me very emotional right now. I want to say that, again, my name is Zarka Abid, and I'm founder and executive director of My Project USA. And for me, Wedgwood is a neighborhood that is going to turn into a model community. That's basically the ambition of my life for this year and next year. For last 2 years, what we have seen and how it has changed is is a great example of how when organizations, city officials, and the residents in the community come together, we can make a difference. I want to especially thank Councilwoman Elizabeth Brown for this particular grant that we are being awarded for today. I want to thank Councilwoman Jaiza Page, Councilman Ramey, Councilman Mitchell Brown for pitching in for what we needed for tonight. But also I want to extensively thank President Pro Tem Michael Estinziano for his presence along with Councilmember Brown. Both of you have made a significant difference. I cannot explain to you how much I have seen the change in the lives of these kids who have seen you throughout the last 18 months or so constantly, and they know that somebody is taking care of them, and the whole city council, President Hardin, you, Councilmember Tyson, all of you have given us this hope when we came here, when those kids came here, and you gave them the hopes and the challenge that if they get the programs together, you will be there. I think tonight is very important for each one of us. I want to say a little bit quickly about the Wedgwood, that as we know that it was the most violent neighborhood last year. We had 17 shootings and 7 homicides. The grant that this council gave us under the name of Boy Scouts helped significantly, at least on my part, to organize the youth and hire some of them and put them to work in organizing under the Boy Scout program. But that really opened us up for the whole community to see what will work and what won't. Where we stand today, we know that we will be serving hundreds of children. We have created an advisory board, and that consists of Mr. Russ Harris, especially him because he is a soccer commissioner who served Grove City Kids Association for 1,500 children in program. That really helped big time in that community, and we are hoping to replicate the Murfin Fields model in Wedgwood. We have Malik Moore of YMCA, Nasir Sadeh, and many other in our board and support. Commander Scott Heigland is one of our advisor in this board. Franklin, the FOP Ohio is also helping us in building the board, and many of the police officers are actually actually advocating, and they are working with us. So we are very, very hopeful. And we know that we will be serving more than 400 kids at least in this first year, and we will go beyond that, and we will transform the community. So this money that you are allowing us to work with the Parks and Recreation and with working with Director Collins, I look forward to having a really transform this community. Last thing I would want to say is that because of this grant, I was in this decision that do I work on the soccer or do I also work something for the girls. This community is very close community. It's very sensitive how we provide recreation and sports to the girls in the community. Because of this grant, now I'm able to also allocate the money that we have raised for girls' recreation and wellness program. So we have also started on creating an advisory board, so just focusing on women and girls' health and recreation. And I have already been contacted by some women coaches who are leading the program for soccer and basketball for girls. So thank you so very much for this grant. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? So I just want to, before I move for passage, I want to end with my thanks again, highlight the work that Commander Scott Hyland has done in collaboration with the youth. And I've seen how productive and moving that relationship is. And I also wanted to highlight that the Wedgwood Cap City Nights Festival is this Saturday, and we all look very much forward to that. Seeing nothing further, I move for passage.
Second. Thank you.
Brown, Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Harden.
All right.
Thank you very much.
And then my last committee tonight is education. May I move to that? In education, we have ordinance 2146-2018 to authorize and direct the Director of Education to enter into contracts with high-quality pre-kindergarten organizations to provide educational services, to waive the competitive bidding provisions of the Columbus City Codes, to authorize the expenditure of $3,548,493.75 from the general fund, to authorize the transfer of $815,000 between departments of the general fund, and to declare an emergency. The funding is for the Early Start Columbus program, which expands access to high-quality pre-kindergarten for children through partnerships with Columbus City schools and community-based providers. In short, we are helping 4-year-olds attend high-quality pre-K when their parents otherwise might not be able to afford it. These dollars are leveraged with funds from the Ohio Department of Education and the Ohio Department of Jobs and Family Services to make every dollar stretch as far as possible to maximize the number of children served. Early Start providers have demonstrated their ability to provide a high-quality pre-kindergarten education and are rated at least 3 stars in the state's Step Up to Quality rating system. We know that quality early education significantly improves literacy, language, and math skills. Children who reach kindergarten academically ready are more likely to succeed throughout their lives. This is the basis of our efforts to expand access to high-quality pre-K opportunities through Early Start Columbus. I truly believe that funding for early childhood education is one of the best investments we can make as a city and as a society. I want to thank Director Rhonda Johnson and Matt Smido for their ongoing work, their hard work to ensure this program is a success. To work with council to make these investments in our kids. I value your work every day, and families in our community value your work every day. Any questions or comments from my colleagues? Anything you'd like to add, Director Johnson?
Garden, and this ordinance represents our 5th year of Early Start Columbus. Last school year, we served more than 1,000 children by layering our dollars with publicly funded child care and the Ohio Department of Education's Early Childhood Expansion Grant. We are proud to partner with Franklin County, with Columbus City Schools, and with the state of Ohio. Each of our providers, as we said, has at least 3 stars under the 5-star quality rating system, Step Up to Quality, and each of them completed a very rigorous application process. In the 2018-2019 school year, we plan to use our same strategies to serve as many children as possible and as our funding permits. And we truly appreciate your support and council support that you've giving us this year and over the last 5 years.
Thank you, Director. Seeing nothing further, I move for passage.
Second.
Please call the row.
Brown, Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Harden.
Passed.
That's all I have in my committees.
Thank you, Chair Brown. The next committee to come before council is the Public Safety Committee. Councilmember Mitch Brown is chair. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, President Harden. Tonight I have two ordinances, 1593-2018, to authorize the Director of Public Safety on behalf of the Division of Police to enter into a contract with ProTow, Inc. for towing management services and software to authorize the expenditure of $1 million or so much thereof as is necessary from the Division of Police General Fund and to declare an emergency. Assistant Director Speaks, would you please provide us with some background information regarding this contract?
Thank you, Councilmember Brown. Council members, this is an exciting, very exciting piece of legislation. It demonstrates how technology is transforming our lives and making us more efficient. Let me give you an example of status quo with respect to our towing and what it will be like with this new technology and new vendor. So currently, if an officer needs to tow a vehicle, they would contact the radio room. The radio room in turn would contact our vendor. That vendor would have a list, put a call over the radio to try to find a tow truck. Let's contrast that with this new technology, and I'll say it's akin to Uber, if you will. So the way this new technology will work is that an officer can either push a button on their phone or the computer within their police vehicle. The nearest tow truck who will be equipped with a GPS will be contacted, making for a much quicker response. Secondly, when that vehicle does respond, information is put into the computer system one time and one time only, unlike now when the car is towed to our towing lot, many times there's repetitive re-entry of basic data, make, model, license plate, that sort of thing. It's also exciting in that under the current system, it's I'll call it a confederation made up of sort of large towing companies who have banded together to contract throughout the city. This technology will allow for smaller, even mom and pop companies, if you will, to utilize this technology to be able to tow in the city of Compass. So for all of these reasons, a quicker response by utilizing the GPS technology for the non-repetitive entry of data, the efficiency derived from there, and for allowing, I believe, smaller companies to participate in our towing, we recommend this contract. Thank you.
If there are no questions, I move for passage.
Please call the roll.
Brown, Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Harden.
Pass.
Thank you, Director. Also, tonight I have 2241-2018 to authorize the Director of the Department of Public Safety to enter into a contract with Mobile PD for the provision of the Mobile PD smartphone application in accordance with the sole source procurement provisions of Columbus City Code, to authorize an appropriation expenditure within the Public Safety Initiative subfund, and to authorize the appropriation in the general fund, and to declare an emergency. This particular legislation was brought to me by Councilmember Rimby, so I'm going to transfer it to him for his comments.
Thank you, Chair Brown. I'm excited to introduce this community engagement app to bring the latest in technology to our residents, and to also open up lines of communication between our residents and the Columbus Police Department. This will give neighborhoods and neighbors the ability to use technology to participate in keeping our city's streets safe. The Mobile PD smartphone application will serve as a central location where members of the Columbus community can engage with the Columbus Police Department through their Android and iOS devices. This application will allow end users to submit anonymous crime tips, receive public safety alerts, use interactive public safety maps, and have access to centralized Columbus Police information and resources. The application also allows live two-way chatting with police personnel, social media integration, being able to use look at Columbus Facebook, Columbus Twitter, Columbus Instagram, any of the social media apps, provide push notifications to specific areas or different type of group segments, phone directory integration, and end user to upload photos and videos. I'm going to ask Deputy Chief Quinlan to come forward to talk a little bit further about the mobile PD app and the benefits it provides to our Columbus residents. But before I do that, I'd like to thank my colleague, of course, the Safety Chair, Mitch Brown, for allowing me to work on this, Councilmember Liz Brown for her co-sponsorship, and all of my colleagues for their support. I'd also like to thank the Mayor's Office, of course, Deputy Chief Quinlan, Sergeant Hess of the Columbus Police Department, and the Chief herself for following through and making this a reality today. So, Deputy Chief Quinlan, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Council President Hardin, members of council, it's a privilege to be here tonight to talk to you about this opportunity to continue the platform that we have always engaged in, public interactions, relationship building. This is what this mobile PD app will do. This is an application that's designed by a company that exclusively handles public safety, police integration packages with community. Technology is evolving so fast. There's so many things that we do that allows us to either interact or creates barriers to our interaction with the community. And every single person from the youngest children that we see to of all ages have this cell phone, whether it be an Android or iOS, in their hand at all times. If you need to get some type of public safety alert, a lot of times you're having to go to our Twitter page or search out through a Google search information you're looking for. This app allows us to inform the public, allows us to engage and interact with exchanging of information and ideas, and allows us to equip people with information that they can act on. And it's a force multiplier for all of us. So what happens is, with this application, all of our social media be a one-stop shop. Right now, you either have to have a Twitter account or have to go and Google and try to find it. And then once you're in there, try to go to the Columbus Police site to find what you're looking for. This app puts all the social media, Facebook, Twitter, the Instagram, and Nextdoor, everything, and one thing also it does is our YouTube channel. Puts everything in one spot. So you can be in the application, you can click on one application, you can switch over to the other. You don't even have to have a sign in or log in yourself. You just go to that app and it'll show you what is on our page. The most important thing about that is we send push notifications out, either advisories to people citywide, or if we want to put it in a geofence area just to alert people in a certain area of something going on that's a crisis or something needs their immediate attention. People don't always go to their email accounts or have their phones activated to receive calls. But the push notification, they don't even have to have the app open. It'll come up and tell you there's something critical that you need to be aware of, and you can immediately click on that and go right to it. As Councilmember Remy said, we can interact with the public. We can do that anonymously or open exchange information. Just a simple button on there. You click it, and it automatically makes everything you talk to us about anonymous. We cannot find out who you are, but you can share location, pictures of what you're seeing, everything in real time with the police. So this app is going to be a tremendous asset to not only the police as a force multiplier, but to the community. And we're very pleased with the support we've received from all council. I approached Councilmember Remy with this one day at a TAPS Teen and Police Service graduation. He immediately was all in. I thank you for your support and your engagement on this. It would not have happened without everyone's support here. And it's an opportunity we have to continue the engagement that we already do. One last thing. The soccer team was here. Sergeant Smith Hughes was a little bit humble, but he went out and he made sure every one of them had our literature for recruiting. This application will also have our recruiting site. If he gave you the web address, how to get to our recruiting site, it might be difficult to remember exactly which backslash or which underline to do. Here, the application will be right there. You can just click on one button, an icon on your app, and it'll take you right to our recruiting page, take you right into the application process, and we can send you push notification, remind you, don't forget your test is tomorrow, your medical test coming up, whatever. So those are ways to increase turnout. You can also not wait for a cruiser. If you got a minor report you want to file, you can file your report right here online and not have to wait for, if there's something major going on in the city that you can't get a cruiser out, just fill it out online and you'll be done. So great opportunities for us to continue our engagement and our relationship building with the city, and I thank council for their support.
One last thing, for those of you that want a sneak preview while it's in development, which should take a few months at the most, you can download, Austin Police Department has it, so you can get an idea how the thing operates and the different types of things that you'll be seeing with the Columbus Police app. So just thought I'd throw that out. Yep, correct.
Chief, you did say it's free, right?
It is a free app, and we're going to try to highlight this at National Night Out this year to make people aware that this is coming. In about 60 to 90 days, hopefully we'll have it up and running.
And if I'm not mistaken, in areas that have used this app, the tip lines have increased significantly in the sense of informing law enforcement about potential problems that they see without being recognized.
More than 100 times increase over the number of tips that are received, and a lot more of them become actionable at that point.
Thank you. If there are no additional questions from my council, my colleagues, I move for passage.
Second, sir.
Please call the roll.
Brown, Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Harden.
Thank you, Chief.
Pass.
Thank you, Councilmember.
That's all I have tonight, sir.
Thank you, Chair Brown. It is now 6:33, and so I'm going to ask for a motion for recess. Please call the roll.
Brown, Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Harden.
Regular meeting number 43 is in recess, and we will reconvene the meeting and hear non-agenda speakers following the 6:30 zoning meeting. We will reconvene momentarily. Regular meeting number 44 will now come to order. Please call the roll.
Brown, Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Harden.
Can I get a motion to dispense with the reading of the journal? Please call the roll.
Brown, Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Harden.
We will now go to the zoning committee. Councilmember Tyson chairs that committee. Councilmember Jiza Page is chairing this evening in Councilmember Tyson's place. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, President Harden. This evening for our zoning agenda, we do not have any speakers, but I would like to ask staff to stand so that you can be sworn in case any council members have any questions. On the advice of the City Attorney's Office, we ask that anyone here this evening who wishes to speak either for or against any council variance to please stand and raise your right hand to be sworn in. I swear or affirm to tell the truth and nothing but the truth. Please answer, I will. Thank you. 2022-2018, to grant a variance from the provisions of Section 3356.03 C4 permitted uses of the Columbus City Codes for the property located at 364 Parkview Drive, 43202, to permit a single-unit condominium in the C4 Commercial District. The applicant is Suzanne Hololik. The proposed use is a single-unit condominium. The City Department's recommendation is approval. Clintonville Area Commission's recommendation is approval, 7-0. If there are no questions or comments, I move for passage.
Second.
Brown, Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Harden.
2029-2018, to rezone 1774 East Main Street, 43205, being approximately 2.17 acres located at the northeast corner of East Main Street and Fairwood Avenue from C4 Commercial District and LP1 Limited Parking District to AR1 Apartment Residential District. The applicant is the Woda Group Incorporated. The proposed use is senior housing with commercial development. The City Department's recommendation is approval. Near East Area Commission's recommendation is approval, 11-0. If there are no questions or comments, I move for passage.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Brown, Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Harden.
Pass.
And the companion piece, 2030-2018, to grant a variance from the provisions of sections 333302, AR12, ARLD, and AR1, Apartment Residential District Use, 3309, 14A, Height Districts, 3312, 21D, Landscaping and Screening, 3312, 49C, minimum numbers of parking spaces required, 3321-05B2, vision clearance, 3321-07A, landscaping, 3333-18, building lines, and 3372-604A, setback requirements of the Columbus City Codes for the property located at 1774 East Main Street, 43205, to permit a mixed-use development with reduced development standards in the AR1 Apartment Residential District, and to repeal Ordinance 0277-2016, passed February 8, 2016. The applicant again is the Wodo Group Incorporated. The proposed use is senior housing with commercial development. The City Department's recommendation is approval. Near East Area Commission's recommendation is approval, 11-0. If there are no questions or comments, I move for passage.
Second. Please call the row.
Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Harden.
Passed.
2041-2018, to grant a variance from the provisions of Section 3359-27 parking overlay of the Columbus City Codes for the property located at 170 Marconi Boulevard to permit a non-accessory surface parking lot in Parking Zone A within the downtown district. The applicant is 170 Marconi LLC. The proposed use is a non-accessory surface parking lot. The City Department's recommendation is approval. Downtown Commission's recommendation is approval. If there are no questions or comments, I first move to amend to emergency.
Please call the row.
Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Harden.
Amend it.
I now move for passage.
Please call the row.
Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Harden.
Passed.
2042-2018, to grant a variance from the provisions of Sections 3333-02, AR12, ARLD, and AR1, Apartment Residential District Use, 3312-03D, Administrative Requirements, 3333-18D, Building Lines, 3333-22, Maximum Side Yard Required, 3333-23, Minimum Side Yard Permitted, 3333-24, Rear Yard, and 3333-35F1, Private Garage of the Columbus City Codes for the properties located at 994 and 1002 Denison Avenue to permit single-unit dwellings with reduced development standards in the ARLD Apartment Residential District, and to repeal Ordinance 2041-2003, passed September 29, 2003. The applicant is Juliet Bullock. The proposed use is 2 single-unit dwellings. The City Department's recommendation is approval. Victorian Village Commission's recommendation is approval. If there are no questions or comments, I move for passage.
Please call the row.
Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Harden.
Passed.
2072-2018, to grant a variance from the provisions of Sections 3356-03, C4, permitted uses, 3309-14, height districts, 3321-05B1, vision clearance, and 3356-11, C4, district setback lines of the Columbus City Codes for the property located at 33 East Hubbard Avenue to permit a 65-unit apartment building with reduced development standards in the C4 commercial district, and to repeal Ordinance 1354-2014, passed on June 23, 2014. The applicant is the Wood Companies. The proposed use is a multi-unit residential development. The City Department's recommendation is approval. Italian Village Commission's recommendation is approval. If there are no questions or comments, I move for passage.
Second. Please call the row.
Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Harden.
Passed.
2082-2018, to grant a variance from the provisions of Section 3345-07, contents of application for establishment of PUD of the Columbus City Codes for the property located at 3650 Sunbury Road to permit expansion of an existing school in the PUD 8 Plan Unit Development District, and to repeal Ordinance 2041-2003, passed July 29, 2002. The applicant is Allegheny West Conference Corp. of Seventh-day Adventists. The proposed use is a modular classroom building for an existing school. The City Department's recommendation is approval. Northeast Area Commission's recommendation is approval. If there are no questions or comments, I would first like to move to amend as submitted to the clerk.
Please call the row.
Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Harden.
Amend it.
I now move for passage.
Please call the row.
Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Harden.
Passed.
2097-2018, to grant a variance from the provisions of Sections 333302 ARLD, Apartment Residential District Uses, 3312-49C, minimum parking spaces required, and 3333-34 A, D, E, and J, home occupation of the Columbus City Codes, for the property located at 1287 through 1315 Mount Vernon Avenue, to permit 4 live-work units or commercial tenant spaces with reduced parking in the ARLD apartment district. The applicant is Columbus Metropolitan Housing Authority. The proposed use is 4 live-work units or commercial tenant spaces. The City Department's recommendation is approval. Near East Area Commission's recommendation is approval, 13-0. If there are no questions or comments, I move for passage.
Please call the row.
Brown, Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Harden.
Passed.
2100-2018, to grant a variance from the provisions of Sections 3332-035 R3 Residential District, 3312-13 Driveway, 3312-21 A2 B3 Landscaping and Screening, 3312-25 Maneuvering, 3312-27-3 Parking Setback Line, 3312-29 Parking Space, 3312-49 Minimum numbers of parking spaces required, 3321-05 B12 Vision Clearance, 3321-07B Landscaping, 3332-18D Basis of Computing Area, 3332-21 Building Lines, 3332-25 Maximum Side Yards Required, 3332-26 Minimum Side Yard Permitted, and 3332-27 Rear Yard of the Columbus City Codes for the property located at 1199 Franklin Avenue to permit a mixed-use development and an off-site parking lot with reduced development standards in the R3 Residential District. The applicant is 1199 Franklin Investments, LLC. The proposed use is a mixed-use development with off-site parking lot. The City Department's recommendation is approval. Near East Area Commission's recommendation is approval, 12-0. If there are no questions or comments, I move to amend as submitted to the clerk.
Please call the row.
Brown, Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Harden.
Amended.
And I now move for passage.
Please call the row.
Brown, Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Harden.
Passed.
And that's all we have in zoning this evening, President Harden.
Thank you, Chair Page. Can I get a motion for adjournment? Please call the row.
Brown, Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Harden.
We stand adjourned. We will reconvene meeting number 43 momentarily. Can I get a motion to reconvene meeting number 43? Please call the row.
Brown, Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Harden.
The next committee to come before council is the Public Service and Transportation Committee. Councilmember Emmanuel Remy is chair. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, President Harden. Tonight in Public Service and Transportation, I have ordinance number 1945-2018 to amend the 2018 capital improvement budget to appropriate funds within the Polaris TIF Fund, the Polaris Interchange Fund, the Federal Transportation Grants Fund, and the Transportation Grants Fund, to transfer funds within the Streets and Highways Bond Fund, to transfer cash and appropriation between the Polaris TIF Fund and the Polaris Interchange Fund, to authorize the Director of Public Service to enter into contract with Shelley and Sands for the roadway improvements Lizelle Road Phase A, PID 95606, and roadway improvements Lizelle Road Phase B, PID 90406 projects, to authorize the expenditure of up to $24,400,917.76 from the Federal Transportation Grants Fund, the Federal Transportation Grants Fund, the Polaris Interchange Fund, and the Streets and Highways Bond Fund for these projects, and to declare an emergency. This ordinance authorizes the Director of Public Service to enter into contract with Shelley and Sands for the roadway improvement Lizelle Road Phase A and roadway improvements Lizelle Road Phase B projects, and to provide payment for construction administration, and inspection services. The work for Phase A consists of reconstructing, resurfacing, and widening of Lizelle Road from High Street to Olenbrook Drive, including side streets. The work for Phase B consists of reconstructing, resurfacing, and widening of Lizelle Road from Olenbrook Drive to Sankis Boulevard, work on Flint Road in South Old State. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Brown, Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Harden.
Passed. Our next ordinance tonight in Public Service and Transportation is 1983-2018, to authorize the Director of Department of Public Service to execute those documents required to transfer a 1,365 square foot portion of the unnamed north-south right-of-way west of Cleveland Avenue and an 880 square foot portion of the unnamed east-west right-of-way south of Reynolds Avenue, totaling 2,245 square feet, to EJB Inc., and for the city to receive $2,245 from EJB Inc. for this transaction. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I request that we amend to emergency.
Please call the roll.
Brown, Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Harden.
Amend it.
Now I move for passage.
Please call the roll.
Brown, Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Harden.
Passed.
Next, we have ordinance number 2125, 2018, to authorize the city's Chief Innovation Officer to execute a second contract modification with Pillar, relative to the Smart Cities Challenge, to authorize the expenditure of up to $2,500,000 from the USDOT Grant Smart City Fund to pay for the contract modification and to declare an emergency. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Please call the roll.
Brown, Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Harden.
Passed.
Next, we have ordinance number 2128, 2018, to authorize the city's Chief Innovation Officer to execute a fourth contract modification with HNTB Ohio, Inc., relative to the Smart City Challenge, to authorize the expenditure of up to $2 million from the Smart City Grant Fund to pay for the contract modification and to declare an emergency. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Please call the roll.
Brown, Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Harden.
Passed.
And finally, this evening, I have ordinance number 2180, 2018, to authorize the city attorney to file complaints in order to immediately appropriate and accept the remaining fee simple and lesser real estate necessary to timely complete the arterial rehabilitation Polaris Parkway at Orion Place project and to declare an emergency. Before I move for passage, I'd like to ask the director to speak on the right-of-way process, talk a little bit about eminent domain and the fact that negotiations may still be ongoing.
Yes, President Harden, Councilmember Remy, other members of council. This is the fourth piece of legislation for right-of-way for this particular project. The first ordinance that we do just allows the city attorney to start the process of acquiring the right-of-way, which a lot of that is just reaching out to the property owners, et cetera. Then the other pieces of legislation are to allow the city attorney's office to spend money for particular parcels once their fair market share has been decided. And then we get to this point where the city attorney's office either could not come to an agreement with the property owner, or they could not find the property owner, they couldn't make contact with them. So at that point, they filed these claims in the court system and go through the process of eminent domain, which allows us to take the property for the better good of the community. That's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Director. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Please call the roll.
Brown, Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you very much. That's all I have tonight in Public Service and Transportation.
Thank you, Chair Remy. The next committee to come before council is the Economic Development and Small Business Committee. Councilmember Jiza Page chairs that committee. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, President Harden. This evening in Economic Development and Small Business, we have Ordinance 3255-2017 to authorize the Director of Development to enter into the First Amendment to the Columbus Commons Tax Increment Financing Agreement with Carter Columbus Residential Development, LLC, and to declare an emergency. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I first like to move to remove this ordinance from the table.
Please call the roll.
Brown, Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Harden.
Removed from table.
I now move for passage.
Please call the roll.
Brown, Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Harden.
Passed.
2079-2018, to authorize and direct the city auditor to transfer an amount not to exceed $13,489,810.75 within the general fund, to authorize and direct the city auditor to appropriate and transfer $3,372,452.69 in cash from the special income tax fund to the general fund, to authorize and direct the city auditor to make payments not to exceed a total of $13,489,810.75 in accordance with the Jobs Growth Incentive Program for the 32 active and reporting JGI projects for which employers have met the requirements of their JGI agreements and thus are eligible to receive their payments for tax year 2017, also calendar year and/or report year in 2018. To authorize the expenditure not to exceed of $13,489,810.75 from the general fund and to declare an emergency. Director, are there any additional comments?
Thank you, Chair Page, President Harden, members of council. Just a couple of quick things to point out. When you look at this portfolio of agreements, on the job creation for the 32 agreements covered by this ordinance, we have exceeded the commitments that were made to council by 163%. We have 8 projects that are in their final year that, if they stay on pace, will have exceeded their commitments by more than 200%. So we're seeing great performance in our portfolio with the Jobs Growth Incentive Program. We hope that we'll continue to see that kind of performance going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Second. Please call the roll.
Brown, Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Harden.
Passed.
President Harden, at this point, if I may leave the Economic Development Small Business Committee and go to Rules and Reference to read a piece that will kind of lead us into the next pieces. Thank you. Ordinance 2184-2018 to amend Title 45 Housing Code of the Columbus City Codes by enacting new Chapter 4565 entitled Affordable Housing and Community Reinvestment Area Incentive Policy. And I am sponsoring this legislation with Councilmember Elizabeth Brown. And we have had multiple hearings on this legislation with the work that was done when Councilmember Brown was the chair of the Economic Development Committee and with the Department of Development to look at the incentive policy and how the Department of Development incentivizes new development projects, particularly as it relates to residential, and looking more at providing affordable housing for individuals in our community so that they can live throughout the city of Columbus. And I would first like to ask my colleague, Councilmember Brown, if she has any additional comments.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Page. My comments are brief, just a thank you to you for your leadership, and a thank you to the department for their ongoing work in this process to really improve and take a look at, for the first time in a long time, how our incentives and abatements function. So Director Shoney and your whole team, thank you.
Thank you. Director, do you have any additional comments?
Thank you, Chair Page, President Harden. It's been a long process. I appreciate, in particular, both of you, but as I've said before, each member of this council has provided us really meaningful and thoughtful input. So I want to thank each of you for that. I don't know what I'm going to talk to you guys about after we get this finally passed, but we'll figure something out. So I do appreciate your support and work with us all the way through the process. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. I would now like to call Bobby Garber. She's with the Affordable Housing Alliance to come down and speak. She is in support of this ordinance. Welcome to Council, Ms. Garber, and you have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Council President Harden, President Pro Tem Stenziano, Councilmember Page, and members of Council. I want to speak tonight about support for
the Affordable Housing and Community Reinvestment Area Incentive Policy, including the recent amendments that have been made that were presented at a public hearing last week that increase the funds that could be provided and generated for the Affordable Housing Trust and for CDCs, Neighborhood Community Development Corporations. I am Bobby Garber. I'm the Executive Director of the Affordable Housing Alliance of Central Ohio. The Alliance was formed in 2015, and we are a group of 12 nonprofit organizations that develop, operate, and fund affordable housing in Columbus and Central Ohio. We released research in 2017 that confirmed that Franklin County has 54,000 households living in or near poverty that pay more than 50% of their income for housing. We have a big goal of cutting that affordable housing gap in half over the next 10 years using both demand side and supply side strategies. So that includes new development, housing preservation, home repair and modification, and housing stabilization assistance. We've laid out a 3-year startup plan to get the ball rolling, and the City of Columbus is our champion, making the first funding commitment with $5 million from the 2018 capital improvements budget. And we really appreciate your enabling us to launch that plan. Our research also looked into models across the country of how cities are addressing affordable housing. These include both funding as well as policies. So the incentive policy is really consistent with best practices around the country that are either voluntary inclusion policies or linkage policies. These policies directly produce affordable housing as part of a new development or require payment of a fee in lieu of developing affordable housing units or in exchange for getting some benefit from the city. So we're pleased that the City of Columbus is following some of these best practices. We applaud the steps the city is taking that makes clear your priority for the affordable housing and that the value you place on affordable housing. It's also based on sound data, lots of input, and tailored to the micro markets in our community. All good things. And we appreciate the work of council and staff, city staff, to put this policy in place. We also, I'd be remiss if I didn't say, that we know based on many conversations that we've had with all of you and city officials that you understand that this is just the tip of the iceberg in terms of addressing the affordable housing gap that the Alliance has identified. With its focus on workforce housing, it's not really intended to address the needs of the lowest income households, those with incomes below $25,000 a year. Those may include health care aides, child care workers, logistics laborers, food service, and retail workers. For these households, affordable housing is a platform for success and moving into the middle class. So we look forward to continuing to work with all of you, along with other local governments and the business and philanthropic community, to implement the Alliance plan. And I want to again affirm our support for this important step in adopting this policy. Resources for affordable housing are always welcome, and this policy will help to provide those. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bobby. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues for Bobby? Thank you for coming down. We do have 3 speakers speaking against this ordinance, and I will call each of you down, and you will have 3 minutes. Mr. Joe Motil. Welcome to council, Mr. Motil. If you could let us know any organizations that you are representing, and you have 3 minutes.
President Hardin, Pro Tem Cinziano, members of City Council. As I've said before, your intentions are well taken, but what you are referring to as an affordable housing community reinvestment and incentive policy is top-heavy on the mayor and city council's outrageous policies of continuing to handing out one tax abatement after another to your campaign contributing developer associates, while trying to disguise these tax abatement giveaways as affordable housing guidelines. Using the term, quote, development incentives in the language of this legislation in order to mask the truth isn't really fooling anyone. These development incentives are tax abatements, and they should not be legislated and desired for the purpose of development. We need to address this housing crisis with policies that are less of a burden on the taxpayers while reducing the excessive profits, risk-free development practices, and taxpayer subsidies that City Hall provides the development community in corporate Columbus on a regular basis. If any of you have seen or been listening or read anything in the local news or on social media for the last several years now, you are well aware that there is an overwhelming majority of Columbus taxpayers and citizens that have been speaking out against the continuation of granting tax abatements in market-ready CRAs, in particular the Short North and AC Humco. And it's far past time that the pre-1994 downtown CRA be amended to eliminate 100% 15-year tax abatements in our thriving, risk-free development downtown area. And although I appreciate the public hearing on this legislation last week, once again, it appears that the people's concerns that were voiced at that hearing has fallen on deaf ears. By allowing developers to opt out or receive affordable housing unit credits rather than mandating the proposed requirements, you will continue to increase the housing segregation situation in Columbus that has already ranked us as one of the worst in the United States. This defeats one of the main objectives in any true affordable housing initiative. Any type of monetary penalty for avoiding the affordable housing unit requirements will be offset by a predetermined substantial increase in an awarded tax abatement by the mayor and city council. And how can we be assured that any of these penalties that have been drawn up will even be enforced now that city council and the mayor has shown its true colors by taking cover from its duties and accepting advisory board's recommendations on tax abatement policies? And of all the things, why is a development arm of the city, Columbus Next Generation, being excluded from the affordable housing requirements? This legislation will grant City Hall the authority to gentrify urban neighborhoods of their choice, drive away the poor, seniors on fixed incomes, and long-term residents who have been waiting decades for their neighborhoods to be improved, but with no other option. They will be sent packing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Motel. Our next speaker, excuse me, thank you. Please be mindful that we do not have clapping here in council. Our next speaker is Nicole Butler. You have 3 minutes. If you could let us know any organizations that you are representing, and welcome to council.
Hi, my name is Nicole Butler, and I'm a volunteer with Yes We Can Columbus. I'm here to speak against this measure, but to be honest, I really don't have any issue with most of it. The thing I'm really worried about is what's going to happen in the areas in Category 2. I looked at a map of the city, and I can see that some of these are the poorest neighborhoods in Columbus, and that's why I'm hoping you can help me understand some of the choices you made designing this policy. I realize that using the entire metropolitan statistical area is considered the industry standard, but that 10-county area has some of the richest towns and cities in this whole state in it, and you're using that average income to determine what's affordable in some of our poorest neighborhoods. The median family income for the entire statistical area is $73,000. For the city of Columbus, it's $47,000, which is already a pretty big gap. It's a $26,000 difference. But what's even more concerning to me is that it's $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 more than the average families are living on in some of the Category 2 neighborhoods. I don't see how this program is going to help those people. I'm worried it might actually make things worse for them. I've also read that we've got something like 50,000 people coming to Columbus to help fuel our economic growth, and that we need a place to put them. I'm worried that the plan is to put them in these neighborhoods. And I've looked at the vacancy rates, and I know there's some space, and I understand that encouraging density will take care of some of this problem. But if we turn these neighborhoods into workforce housing for people with much higher incomes, aren't rents going to jump? A lot of people in some of these areas are already spending more than half of their income on rent. They can't pay more. So what's going to happen to them? Here's the other thing I'm worried about. I understand that we had a panel of experts come give us advice on how to create mixed income housing this spring. They did say that using tax incentives would be a good solution, but they made it pretty clear that they thought our first priority should be fixing our eviction policy. 18,000 people were evicted in the city last year. This is a direct quote from one of those experts. This eviction policy is absolutely ridiculous. You have to get that off the books immediately. I know that some of you are worried about this too, and that there have been some efforts and there's been some progress on this, which I think is good. But I haven't seen any substantial revisions to the actual process of eviction. The Rose Center said our eviction process is too easily initiated and that it shouldn't stay on a person's public record forever. Why aren't we doing what they suggested? We've had time to make it easier to arrest people who are begging for money on the street. We're making space for housing people who don't live here yet. I don't know why we aren't fixing the eviction policy first. Because without some kind of protection, it looks to me like a lot of people who live in these Category 2 neighborhoods are going to end up on the street. And we're talking about single mothers, immigrants, people of color. We're talking about the elderly and the disabled. So those are my two questions. Can you tell me why we're doing this tax incentive plan first before we find a way to reform the eviction process? And can you reassure me that you know for sure that this policy is not going to displace hundreds or thousands of your most vulnerable constituents?
Thank you, Ms. Butler, and I will allow the director to address any comments after our last speaker. And then just initially for your evictions questions, I am working on that as well as this entire council is very concerned. And what I would like to do actually is to invite you to be a part of those conversations, which you will see will ramp up over our council break, and we're looking forward to after the break to have some recommendations moving forward for that. So if we can talk after the meeting, I would love to get your information and have you be a part of that.
I'm glad to hear that. Thank you.
Thank you. And our final speaking against this ordinance is Mr. Ryan McMullen. Mr. McMullen, welcome to council. If you could let us know any organizations that you're representing, and you have 3 minutes.
How are you doing, council? Thank you for having me this evening. I don't have a lot to say compared to what everybody else just said. I'm representing the South Side. I live in the heart of the South Side near Lockbourne and Freebus. I see a lot of how people perceive this tax abatement process as it's gone down previously. And one thing that people ask is, if these developers aren't willing to pay taxes commensurate to their neighbors, and more importantly, commensurate to the returns that they gain on their investment, why would we expect them to invest these savings into those very same communities in which they've avoided paying taxes? How do we hold them responsible? And how do we prevent them from exploiting the process to extract resources and export them to wealthy suburbs? In the past, we have seen tax abatements in which there were job creation numbers that I assume were contractually obligated. I'm not actually very, familiar with the process, but I believe that there are contractual obligations for those developers to provide jobs to areas. And so far, there have been some developers. It's been reported in the Columbus Dispatch that Pizzuti, Elford, Wagenbrenner, organizations like this have missed those numbers, and then there was no punitive measures taken by the council. And I want you to be confident that going forward, when you move into these neighborhoods like the South Side, that when you give a tax abatement, that you are ensuring that the housing units brought to places like the South Side are affordable. I think we just heard how a lot of these incentives aren't actually addressing the lowest, working class portion of our low-income communities. Like, I think it was below 25,000, I think is what she said. But those are the people that I live near. Those are my neighbors. On my street, I have retirees on fixed income. I have a lot of healthcare workers. I have a lot of service industry in my neighborhood. And these are people that believe that these developers aren't bringing in jobs that they can get. They don't believe that they're bringing in housing units that they can afford. And frankly, they don't think that they're bringing in important products and services. A lot of these parts of town are in food deserts, and nothing about the tax abatement requires that those issues be solved before they start extracting value from these areas. And I know that the promise of opportunity is important, but the promise of opportunity cannot serve as an assurance to Columbus residents when access to that opportunity is not guaranteed and the fruits are reserved for the wealthy few. And those are my concerns. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McMullen. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Thank you for coming to council and for your comments. I would now like to give the director the opportunity to speak.
Excuse me. Thank you, Chair Page. Members of Council, I really appreciate the comments from Ms. Butler and Mr. McMillan. I think they showed a lot of depth of thought. I want to address a couple things, and then to both of them I would offer to sit down and kind of walk through some of the details of the policy and some of the trade-offs that there are. I think to both of them, the concern about the depth of affordability that we're offering through this program is something that we honestly have struggled with ourselves, and it really does come down to a math problem. The abatement is only worth so much, and as we've looked at the numbers, our belief is that the abatement, excuse me, is valuable enough to get us down to that 80 to 100% of area median income threshold. We have to do more. We have to layer that with other programs to get down to the affordability for a household that's making $25,000 a year. The abatement alone just isn't worth that much money when you look at what it costs to construct a new housing unit versus what you can earn in rent or a sale price for a family that's making that much. So we have to do more. That's why we're looking at doing a community land trust. That's why just in the last few months, the mayor has committed more than $10 million in new capital funds to assist with affordable housing, whether it's through the Affordable Housing Trust or just last week he was on the South Side with Reverend Edgar and Community Development for All People, supporting their efforts to keep and improve the affordable housing that exists in those neighborhoods. Part of the answer is also, frankly, supply. Ms. Butler was talking about the fact that we do expect to see not 50,000, but actually 500,000 additional people potentially coming into the city of Columbus. If you have that increase in demand in the city, housing prices will rise if you don't increase supply. There's nothing we can do from a regulatory standpoint. At the end of the day, these neighborhoods that are attractive because they're close to jobs, they're close to they offer transportation choice, are going to be attractive. So we have to do everything we can to encourage responsible growth in supply in those markets. And with that growth in supply, make sure that we have a mix of incomes available in those projects. So that's what we've tried to do. You know, in terms of, I think Mr. McMullen raised a concern about with the funds that might be generated back to, might be generated from developers opting out. His concern was that those developers would not reinvest into those neighborhoods. That choice is not left to the developers. That choice is left to the city and our affordable housing partners like the Affordable Housing Trust. So we do not leave, we don't say, hey, developer, you need to set aside this amount of money and invest it yourself. No, we're taking that responsibility and taking those funds in. So I did want to address that one sense of confusion, perhaps, with Mr. McMullen's comments. So I think I'll leave it at that, again, with the offer to both of them to sit down and walk through their specific concerns in detail.
Thank you, Director. Councilmember Elizabeth Brown and then Councilmember Mitchell Brown.
Thank you, Chair Page. One thing I wanted to highlight too is, well, first, I do want to thank Ms. Garber for her comments as well. And as a lead in the Affordable Housing Alliance, she helped to highlight that we know this isn't on its own a silver bullet to solve affordable housing. It makes improvements to a current abatement structure that doesn't prioritize affordability at all, and now we are prioritizing it. But as she highlighted, the work of the Affordable Housing Alliance, the capital budget allocation that the city made towards that work, all of those things are ongoing and more must be ongoing. And one piece of this that we haven't highlighted yet, Ms. Butler, you asked if we could make certain on these category 2, if you could make certain that this basically won't have the effect of gentrification. And, well, I mean, the only future thing I can guarantee is that I'll love my kids tomorrow, so we can't make anything certain, but we did put a 3-year review, an automatic 3-year review into this so that we are monitoring how this is actually taking effect. Originally it was 5 years through advocacy from residents. The department wisely recommended we make that 3 years, and we're really committed to ongoing review. So as much as we can have a crystal ball, we are trying to force ourselves, I guess, to have one. Thank you, Chair.
Director Shoney, would you also address the issue of accountability for developers? Apparently, the question has come up often in the methodology that you use to hold them appropriately accountable for the projections, and when they don't achieve them, what is the process?
Thank you, Councilmember Brown, President Hardin, Chair Page, members of council. So as it relates to the business incentives, and when we're doing a property tax abatement for a business incentive, we require companies to file annual reports. We have an outside review body called the Tax Incentive Review Council, or the TIRC, that reviews our recommendations and debates them. If we have companies that are out of compliance, reference was made to a couple of abatements that didn't perform in the Short North that we brought legislation last month, early this month, where the TIRC looked at those and said a couple things had happened. In a couple of the cases, the abatements were put in place during the depths of the recession and the collapse of the real estate market, and the city, my predecessors, made a choice to include some retail businesses in the job numbers. What we found going through the reporting process was that that's extremely difficult to account for retail jobs and get to a full-time equivalent for retail jobs. The TIRC looked at those individual cases and found that the businesses had been created, there were jobs being created, but from a reporting standpoint, it was impractical to be able to come to our definition of what a job is. In the case of the Pizzuti project, there was an interesting development that the TIRC struggled with. Again, they went through the reporting process. That building includes a co-working space, which is the future, one of the kind of real innovations in terms of how small businesses are incubated and grown. But from a counting of jobs perspective, how do you count somebody who's renting a desk in a co-working space? When that office building was put up, when the investor made the decision to put that building up without tenants signed up, they didn't know that they were going to have co-working space. We didn't know that they were going to have co-working space. I don't even think we knew what co-working was. And so we're having to deal with that innovation. And so the TIRC is a place where we can come in, have those conversations, and have an outside body help us deal with those kinds of unexpected things. Or if somebody just doesn't perform, as happens sometimes, you will see the TIRC recommend canceling abatements, and we've done that in the past as well.
Thank you. Any additional comments? Seeing none, I would again just like to thank all my colleagues and thank Director Shoney for the work that they've done asking questions, and to thank those who came down and shared comments. You raised a lot of things that we as this council have thought about and will continue to think about as we look at the proper solutions to address the affordable housing issues that we have here throughout our city. And without any further questions or comments, I first move to amend Ordinance 2184-2018 as submitted to the clerk.
Please call the roll.
Brown, Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Hardin.
Amended.
I now move for passage.
Please call the roll.
Brown, Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Hardin.
Passed.
President Hardin, if I may now go back to economic development and small business.
Please.
Ordinance 2185-2018 to amend the AC Humco Community Reinvestment Area to modify its geographic boundaries, to authorize the real property tax exemptions as established in Chapter 4565 of the Columbus City Codes. And we do have a speaker speaking against this ordinance, Mr. Joe Motil. Mr. Motil, again, you have 3 minutes, and welcome to council.
Joe Motil, 167 West Cook Road, Columbus. President Hardin, Pro Tem, Stenziano, members of council. Real shortly, I'm against the inclusion of the AC Humco, or what's better known as the western portion of Harrison West, and the Short North Community Reinvestment Areas that would authorize real property tax abatements for the obvious reasons that these neighborhoods no longer qualify as distressed and neglected areas and are in need of tax abatements for development. These two community reinvestment areas should not be included in the vote that was actually just taken to amend Chapter 4565 of the Columbus City Code. And since I do have some time left, I would like if Director Shoney could please answer my question regarding Columbus Next Generation and why they were excluded from the, what I understand why they're excluded from the affordable housing requirements. If you don't mind. Thank you. That's all. Yeah, I'll yield my time.
Director.
Thank you, Chair Page, President Hardin, members of council, and I didn't mean to usurp your ability to ask if someone's yielding their time. So to Mr. Motil's question about having, when we structured the incentive policy, we said, looking particularly at this, at the middle category, part of what we're trying to do is create capacity within community organizations and not-for-profit organizations to become more adept at building housing. And so within that legislation, you will see there's a provision that if a developer is partnering with, I believe it's the Affordable Housing Trust, Columbus Next Generation Corporation, or a local community development corporation, their requirements to build affordable housing in those specific neighborhoods is not as strong. We did that because sometimes the right answer is driving additional resources into those organizations so that they can preserve and improve the affordable housing that already exists in those neighborhoods. So let's take, for example, the Near East Side. We're working with Columbus Next Generation right now on a project on Long Street. The Near East Side community has been very, very clear that they don't want that project, they're very concerned about the nature of that project and the affordability of that project. They want it to fit this middle income tier. And so whether it's going to fit the numbers specific to this category or not is unclear. But it is the ability in neighborhoods in this middle category to have the flexibility to understand what the needs in the neighborhood are, understand what the needs of the project are, and at the same time build capacity so that we have effective not-for-profit development organizations that can maybe take the resources from one project and apply them to another project.
Thank you, Director. There are no additional questions or comments. I would first like to move to amend 2185-2018.
Please call the row.
Brown, Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Hardin.
Amend it.
I now move for passage.
Please call the row.
Brown, Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Hardin.
Passed.
2186-2018, to amend the 5th by Northwest Community Reinvestment Area to authorize the real property tax exemptions as established in Chapter 4565 of the Columbus City Codes. I'd first like to move to amend as submitted to the clerk.
Please call the row.
Brown, Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Hardin.
Amend it. Apologize.
I now move for passage.
Please call the row.
Brown, Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Hardin.
Passed.
2187-2018, to amend the Franklinton Area G Community Reinvestment Area to authorize the real property tax exemptions as established in Chapter 4565 of the Columbus City Codes. I first move to amend as submitted to the clerk.
Please call the row.
Brown, Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Hardin.
Amend it.
I now move for passage.
Please call the row.
Brown, Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Hardin.
Pass.
2188-2018, to amend the Hilltop Area D Community Reinvestment Area to authorize the real property tax exemptions as established in Chapter 4565 of the Columbus City Codes. I first move to amend as submitted to the clerk.
Please call the row.
Brown, Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Hardin.
Amend it.
I now move for passage.
Please call the row.
Brown, Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Hardin.
Pass.
2189-2018, to amend the Linden Area A Community Reinvestment Area to authorize the real property tax exemptions as established in Chapter 4565 of the Columbus City Codes. I first move to amend as submitted to the clerk.
Please call the row.
Brown, Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Hardin.
Amend it.
I now move for passage.
Please call the row.
Brown, Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Hardin.
Passed.
2190-2018, to amend the Livingston and James Community Reinvestment Area to authorize the real property tax exemptions as established in Chapter 4565 of the Columbus City Codes. I first move to amend as submitted to the clerk.
Please call the row.
Brown, Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Harden.
Amend it.
I now move for passage.
Please call the row.
Brown, Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Harden.
Pass.
2191-2018, to amend the Milo Grogan Community Reinvestment Area to authorize the real property tax exemptions as established in Chapter 4565 of the Columbus City Codes. I first move to amend as submitted to the clerk.
Please call the row.
Brown, Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Harden.
Amend it.
I now move for passage.
Please call the row.
Brown, Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Harden.
Passed.
2192-2018, to amend the North of Broad Area B Community Reinvestment Area to authorize the real property tax exemptions as established in Chapter 4565 of the Columbus City Codes. I first move to amend as submitted to the clerk.
Please call the row.
Brown, Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Harden.
Amend it.
I now move for passage.
Please call the row.
Brown, Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Harden.
Passed.
2193-2018, to amend the North Central Community Reinvestment Area to authorize the real property tax exemptions as established in Chapter 4565 of the Columbus City Codes. I move for amendment as submitted to the clerk.
Second. Please call the row.
Brown, Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Harden.
Amend it.
I now move for passage.
Second. Please call the row.
Brown, Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Harden.
Passed.
2194-2018, to amend the Short North Community Reinvestment Area to authorize the real property tax exemptions as established in Chapter 4565 of the Columbus City Codes. I first move to amend as submitted to the clerk.
Please call the row.
Brown, Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Harden.
Amend it.
I now move for passage.
Please call the row.
Brown, Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Harden.
Pass.
2195-2018, to amend the South Side Area C Community Reinvestment Area to authorize the real property tax exemptions as established in Chapter 4565 of the Columbus City Codes. I first move to amend as submitted to the clerk.
Please call the row.
Brown, Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Harden.
Amend it.
I now move for passage.
Please call the row.
Brown, Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Harden.
Pass.
2196-2018, to amend the Wineland Park University Area F Community Reinvestment Area to modify its geographic boundaries to authorize the real property tax exemptions as established in Chapter 4565 of the Columbus City Codes. I first move to amend as submitted to the clerk.
Please call the row.
Brown, Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Harden.
Amend it.
I now move for passage.
Please call the row.
Brown, Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Harden.
Pass.
President Harden, if I may move to the Housing Committee?
Sure.
Thank you. Ordinance 1954-2018, to authorize the Director of the Department of Development to waive the competitive bidding provisions of the Columbus City Code, Chapter 329, to enter into contract with various contractors that provide emergency home repair services to low and moderate income households in Columbus, to authorize the expenditure of $225,000 from the Community Development Block Grant Fund and to declare an emergency. I am sponsoring this ordinance with President Pro Tem Stenziano. Are there any questions from my colleagues? Director, I do have one question for you. Could you let us know how individuals who are low to moderate income could find out about this program?
Thank you, Chair Page, members of council. There are a couple ways. One is to call the city's 311 line. That's always the best gateway into city services. They can also call 614-645-6115. That will connect them to the housing division, or they can go to www.columbus.gov/development and follow the links to our resident services and find the links there. Basically, if there's a Columbus resident who is low income and is struggling with critical home repairs, keeping their home basically warm or dry, we have programs that we can try and help.
Thank you, Director. If there are no questions or comments, I move for passage.
Second. Please call the row.
Brown, Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Harden.
Passed.
And my final piece this evening, 2014-2018, to authorize the acceptance of fiscal year 2018 home monies within the Home Investment Partnerships Program for the Department of Development, an appropriation of $3,807,025 from the 2018 Home Fund to the Department of Development. to authorize the expenditure of $3,674,707 from the 2018 Home Fund to provide funding for various approved 2018 programs and to declare an emergency. If there are no questions or comments, I move for passage.
Please call the row.
Brown, Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you, President Harden. That's all I have this evening.
Thank you, Chair Page, for all your work and you carrying the meeting. But seriously, I will say, and I didn't say this during the pieces of legislation, we can't overstate the significance of the work that you and Councilmember Brown have done over the last year or so in your committee, and the work of the department and the mayor's office. It is truly appreciated, and it was an honor to support you and your work. So thank you, chairs. The next committee to come before council is the Public Utilities Committee. Council President Pro Tem Stenziano chairs that committee. President Pro Tem, the floor is yours.
Thank you, President Harden. Tonight in the Public Utilities Committee, bring forward Ordinance 1932-2018 to authorize the Director of Public Utilities to renew an engineering agreement with Hatch Chester Engineers Incorporated for the Southwesterly Composting Facility Odor Control Improvements Project, to approve the transfer within of $1,906,172.60 and an expenditure of up to $2,250,500 from the Sanitary Sewer General Obligation Bond Fund, and to amend the 2018 capital improvement budget. This project will design new composting pads with accompanying biofilters while maintaining the composting process's uninterrupted operation, while extending the useful life of existing structures, eliminate expenses for new facilities, and increase work efficiency and provide a safe work environment for our personnel. If there are no questions or comments from my colleagues, I move for passage.
Brown, Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Harden.
Passed.
Next, Ordinance 1962-2018, to authorize the Director of Public Utilities to enter into an agreement with Hill International Incorporated for professional services for the Professional Construction Management 2018 project for the Division of Water, to authorize a transfer and expenditure up to $2,644,800 within the Water General Obligation Bond Fund, and to amend the 2018 capital improvements budget. This contract will support various projects in the Division of Water capital program. These projects will maintain and upgrade drinking water supply and treatment facilities to provide a safe and reliable water supply to the Central Ohio area. All these functions are tied to the economic vitality of the service areas. Most projects will be located within secure areas of the water supply system that are not accessible to the public, and for these projects, no community outreach activities are anticipated. If there are no questions or comments from my colleagues, I move for passage.
Please call the row.
Brown, Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Harden.
Pass. And if I could have your permission, President Harden, I'd like to go back to the items in my committees that appear on first reading on page 5. First, in the Department of Neighborhoods, Ordinance 2167, to authorize Columbus City Council to enter into a contract with Dr. Chanel Jones and Alexander Hickman for the provisions of a municipal identification feasibility study, and to authorize an appropriation expenditure within the Neighborhood Initiatives Subfund. This ordinance authorizes Columbus City Council to enter into contract with academic researchers from Franklin University for the provision of a municipal identification feasibility study, which is scheduled to be completed in December of 2018. We have 3 speakers that have submitted requests, and so before I move for passage, we'll have Christine Hanf. Please come to the podium. You have 3 minutes. Please share any organizations you're representing this evening. All the way up in the front, yeah.
First, I'd like to thank you for allowing us to speak this evening. I'm here representing JOIN, which is the Joint Organization for Inner City Needs, a small agency under the umbrella of Catholic Social Services. We're attached to the free clothing store sponsored by St. Vincent de Paul. Every day, we have lines of people coming for services. At JOIN, we are dedicated to providing emergency services for people, just emergency of any kind. And the most prevalent emergency that we find that people face is that they have no ID, they have no way of getting an ID. They get into a very vicious circle of you have to have an ID in order to get a birth certificate, and you have to have a birth certificate in order to get an ID. It is a very real problem for these people. They cannot get housing, they cannot get social services, and they cannot
get employment or anything else without this. We work very hard, and at just this little small agency, this year alone, we have served already with birth certificate assistance, which is the paper that they need to get started on the ID. We've helped almost 1,500 people already this year, and we've spent over $45,000 doing it. This is just one small agency. We're helping a very small fraction of the people who need the help. And we ask you to seriously consider at least studying this. We would like to speak in favor that you have the feasibility study done and that we can hopefully find some relief for people and allow them to access all the services that they should have. Thank you very much.
Any questions or comments? If not, thank you for your comments. The next speaker is Bayan Salash. Again, 3 minutes, and if you could share any organizations you're representing this evening.
Hello, my name is Bayan Shalash. I'm representing My Project USA. I volunteer at My Family Pantry, which is a part of My Project USA. At the pantry, we are a branch of the Mid-Ohio Food Bank. We serve around 100 clients every week, every Saturday. A lot of the clients are Somali and Hispanic immigrants, and then it's required that we take their ID from them when we're serving them. And so passing this will be a great help to those that, lack the ID. There are a lot of services that require an ID, and we urge you to support. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, our last speaker is Nikki Scarpetti. If Nikki could share any questions or comments. That is not Nikki.
Good evening, President Hardin and members of Columbus City Council. My name is Bill Oberdick. I am reading this statement on behalf of Nikki Scarpetti, Director of Strategic Initiatives of the Columbus Metropolitan Library. She was here earlier but had to leave. On behalf of the library system, I would like to express support for the provision of a municipal identification feasibility study. It is our hope that the feasibility study will justify the need to establish a municipal ID program in Columbus. We believe vulnerable community members, many of whom we serve at our library each day, will benefit from this type of program. We are proud of the fact that our libraries are open to all. But what you may not know is that some of the people who walk through our doors cannot obtain a library card because they don't have the necessary identification. A municipal ID would greatly expand access to library services to those who need them the most by making it much easier to obtain a library card. Additionally, libraries may be a logical place to establish access points for people to secure a municipal ID. We provide a welcoming and safe environment for this type of opportunity. Finally, you may not be aware that other library systems throughout the country have already begun to participate in similar programs, including the Chicago Public Library and the New York Public Library. So on behalf of the Columbus Metropolitan Library and the people we serve throughout the city of Columbus, I thank you for considering this important legislation today. Thank you.
Thank you. If there are no questions or comments, first I'd like to move to waive second reading.
Please call the roll.
Brown, Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Harden.
Waived.
Next, I'd like to move for passage.
Please call the roll.
Brown, Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Harden.
Pass.
The next ordinance I have in the Department of Neighborhoods is Ordinance 2181-2018 to authorize an appropriation of $5,000 within the Neighborhood Initiative Subfund in support of festivals and community events. Each year, festivals and other events throughout the community generate millions of dollars in economic activity and commerce. These events draw thousands of visitors from throughout the region and help to reinforce the image of Columbus as a destination city. Columbus City Council seeks to supplement the work of some of these festivals and event planners with funding support with the intention that these events remain sustainable and continue to attract visitors to the capital city. If there are no questions or comments from my colleagues, first I'd like to waive second reading, and now I'd like to move for passage.
Yeah, please call the roll. On the first, on waiving.
Yep, sorry.
Brown, Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Harden.
And now I'd like to move for passage.
Please call the roll.
Brown, Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Harden.
Passed.
Next, move over to technology. Ordinance 2023-2018 to authorize the Director of the Department of Technology to renew an agreement with Columbus FiberNet for fiber optic cable maintenance services for the CFN fiber duct system in support of the city's fiber optic infrastructure and to authorize the expenditure of $69,829.36 from the Department of Technology Information Services Division Information Services Operating Fund. The city owns approximately 600 miles of fiber optic cabling in various strand count quantities throughout the city. Services are needed to regularly inspect and maintain these assets and provide fiber optic cable maintenance services in the event of unforeseen damage to the fiber network. This agreement provides labor, equipment, and materials needed to ensure reliable operation of the city's fiber network that will continue connecting neighborhoods and businesses. If there are no questions or comments from my colleagues, first I'd like to request to waive second reading. And
Please call the roll.
Brown, Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Harden.
Waived.
And now move for passage.
Please call the roll.
Brown, Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Harden.
Passed.
And now move to public utilities. Ordinance 2062-2018 to authorize the Director of Public Utilities to modify and increase the professional construction management services agreement with URS Corporation Ohio for the Division of Water to authorize a transfer and expenditure up to $309,000 within the Water General Obligations Bond Fund and to authorize an amendment of the 2018 capital improvement budget. This ordinance authorizes the Director of Public Utilities to modify and increase the professional construction management services agreement with URS Corporation, which provides construction management, field representation, inspection, testing, instrumentation, control, integration, and support services for maintenance of operations during construction for various capital improvements projects for the Division of Water. If there are no questions or comments from my colleagues, I will first move to waive second reading.
Please call the roll.
Brown, Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Harden.
Waived.
And now move for passage.
Please call the roll.
Brown, Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Harden.
Passed.
And now, if we can move back to the second reading agenda in the Rules and Reference Committee on our last page, where I'll bring forward Ordinance 2145-2018 to amend Chapter 598 of the Columbus City Code in order to establish regulations for short-term rental operations and hosting platforms. As we all know, Columbus is a growing city, and with this growth comes new technology that forces local governments to act. We've seen examples of this in the past, be it food trucks, ride sharing, bike sharing, and now it looks like scooter sharing. We continue to have what I would deem as good problems to have. It means that more and more people see Columbus as the growing, vibrant city that we know it as. A city that requires innovative technology to accommodate its residents, businesses, tourists, and neighborhoods. This has been a so as we know, the short-term rental process has been a long one. One that we've been very committed, though, to have it be transparent, to get this ordinance to where it is today. A process that I've really appreciated our community's response, feedback, and guidance as we've gone and evaluated what would be the best place to, as Councilmember President Harden would say, land the plane. So after 2 years of meeting with interested parties, 3 public hearings, policy approaches were discussed, and the current legislation emerged as the best current course for the city of Columbus. Research and a nationwide scan of policies in other cities informed the legislation, as well as numerous meetings with impacted stakeholders, such as residents and community members, the hosting platforms, short-term rental hosts, the hotel-motel representatives, the tourist industry, realtors, and many of our neighborhood residents. Section 598.02A2, related to prohibiting the operation of a short-term rental without a permit, will not go in effect until January 1st, 2019, to allow for our licensing department, platforms, and hosts to prepare for this permitting process. Given the rapid growth and dynamic nature of short-term rentals, a thorough review and assessment of the current regulations for short-term rentals will occur every 2 years from the January 1st, 2019 implementation date. As I have shared, it's been a long process. I know Director Shoney's not sure what we'll talk to him about, but you guys are always welcome to talk to me about anything, including short-term rentals. Do want to thank all the city staff that were involved throughout the process. Aaron Beck, Ken Paul, Kevin McCain, Andrew Dyer, Joellen Klein, Cole Voidach, for helping get this process to this point. I also appreciate all of my colleagues' feedback. It has been one where I know there have been a lot of feedback provided to you, and appreciate your support in those 3 hearings and in a very open and transparent process that really created a healthy discussion throughout our community. And I'd also like to thank all the residents for their offered feedback throughout the process, and what I continue to expect is ongoing dialogue and discussion for the best way to address platforms across the city. So with that, we do have 2 speakers who have submitted speaker slips before I'll move for passage. The first is Joyce Jacobson. And Joyce, if you could share any organizations you're representing this evening, you'll have 3 minutes.
Thank you. I'm not speaking for any organization. I'm speaking for myself and those whom I know. And I was hoping I would be the second speaker. The chief request that I have is that any council member who owns a short-term rental currently, and any council member who plans to invest and/or own a short-term rental in the near future without it being their primary residence, to please recuse themselves from the voting on this short-term rental legislation currently in front of City Council for vote, to address any specter of conflict of interest. That was it.
Thank you for your comments. Any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, the next speaker is Jean Wenzel.
Thank you very much. I'm also representing myself tonight, and obviously I want to talk about short-term rentals. I would like to request that the council not take a final vote tonight, but take some time to research the issues I'm going to bring up, excuse me, and come up with ways to address those issues that work both for the community of citizens that you represent and the business interests supporting the short-term rental industry. My issues are as follows. I believe Columbus neighborhoods will attract even more out-of-state short-term rental investors because proposed legislation is extremely generous towards them. And we will attract them from all over the country because these same short-term rental investors are locked out of New York, San Francisco, Nashville, Boston, Cleveland, and other markets because those cities ban short-term rentals in residential neighborhoods. We would like you to do the same. I would like you to do the same. An example is Sobany Corporation. It's business and vacation rentals. It has 43 rentals in Columbus within apartment buildings. These apartments include Fox and Hounds, Hollyview Flats, Atlas Apartments, and others. There are already a number of other apartments that are listed with booking sites for short-term rental in apartment buildings. 10 of these are in my neighborhood. These corporate purchases will drive up costs on homes and apartments in our neighborhoods for Columbus residents, those same people that are struggling now with the prices of our rents and houses. I don't believe that Another issue for me is I don't believe the current legislation clearly defines what is an illegal hotel and how it will be addressed. So in these apartment buildings, if 10 of the apartments are owned by a short-term rental company, is that a hotel? How are we defining it, and how are we going to regulate that? So I have 2 requests only tonight. Do not allow non-owner occupied short-term rentals in residential neighborhoods, and clearly define what is considered an illegal hotel and how you're going to deal with it. I believe these requests are common sense ideas. Residential communities will be damaged by non-owner occupied short-term rentals. I won't go through some of the stories that I've heard from neighbors about when they were renters and other issues. But my community, along with many others, are working hard to keep our neighborhoods safe, clean, friendly, and a place where homeowners can take pride and participate in all that our great city has to offer. We did not buy our homes next to hotels and motels because we don't want to live next to hotels and motels. It feels as if the rules we understood to be in place when buying our homes have been jerked out from under us. So just don't vote on this tonight. Reconsider the things I'm saying. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Councilmember Remy?
I'd like to take a moment to thank President Pro Tem Stenziano for the exhaustive amount of the research that he put into it, him and his staff, the mayor's office. I think that the 3 hearings and the extensive amount of speakers that came down to speak in both favor and opposition. It was a very robust process, and I applaud you for your leadership in getting to this stage where we finally have the opportunity to collect data in the city of Columbus and to understand this market a little bit better. We have, it's an emerging market for Columbus, but certainly not one that would warrant reaching the levels of Nashville, Austin, and those other cities that have major tourist draws. But we're excited to have the opportunity to research the concerns of the community and look forward to reviewing this ongoing. But thank you very much. We appreciate your leadership.
Thank you, Councilmember Remy, and Gene and others. You know, we have really appreciated the feedback throughout this process. I don't think we knew what direction when we started, where we would end up. But in terms of the feedback we received, the commitment remains that we're continuing to evaluate the impact short-term rentals have in our neighborhoods. And it isn't one that we needed to take a first step, or it has been one we need to take a first step on. Currently, when you talk about feeling robbed, we have no regulation in place. And so this sets a standard and a foundation that we can now work through our licensing, work with public health, public safety to address concerns as they arise. We are committed to continuing to address any concerns that come up, but this sets that foundation. And if there are no other questions or comments from my colleagues, first I'd like to amend as submitted to the clerk.
Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Harden.
Amend it.
I'd like to move for passage.
Please call the row.
Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Harden.
Passed.
And that's all I have tonight, President Harden.
Thank you. And I again will applaud your work to President Pro Tem. Like Councilman Remy said, you were extensive in your outreach, and you were point on this. And to your point, where we started off with this legislation is not where we ended up. And I think that we got there through community engagement. So thank you for your leadership. So the next committee that we will go to is the Rules and Reference Committee. I chair that committee. There is one piece left in that committee, and that is Ordinance 2244-2018. And it's to order and provide for the submission to the electors at the November 6, 2018 election an ordinance proposed by the initiative petition entitled to establish a community bill of rights for water, soil, and air protection, and to prohibit gas and oil extraction and related activities and projects, and to declare an emergency. Back in 2017, petitioners filed with the city clerk and began collecting signatures. 1 year later, the petitioners returned with 18,404 signatures. The Franklin County Board of Elections certified these petitions and found that there were enough valid signatures to make it onto the November ballot. Furthermore, City Attorney Klein has advised his council that the petition meets the form requirements set forth in Section 42.5 of the City Charter. This piece of legislation, Ordinance 2244-2018, submits the proposed ordinance to the voters of Columbus. Just reiterating what I said last week, that this council, by voting to place this on the ballot, is not making a claim for or against this initiative, but we are carrying out the rules set forth in our city's constitution. We have one speaker in favor, I believe. Yes, for Ordinance 2244, and that is Charlotte. Ms. Charlotte, welcome back to council. Just a reminder, 3 minutes, and if you could state any organization you may represent.
I represent the Columbus Community Bill of Rights. President Hardin, President Pro Tem Cinciano, members of council, I'm here today to speak in support of the Columbus Community Bill of Rights as a proposed ordinance. I know there are concerns about the legal grounds, but slavery was once legal, as was denying women the right to vote. Just as these have been changed, our current legal interpretations are untenable and undermine the access of people to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I believe in your desire for people to flourish in Columbus, now and 50 and 100 years from now. To do that, we need a longer and broader view. Especially since the industrial age, our subconscious view has been that the earth is so abundant that we don't need to worry about running out of resources or about what to do with our waste. We have taken the essentials of life for granted, when in fact they are priceless. Clean air, potable water, fertile soil, hospitable temperatures. We have acted as if we are separate from nature and can use the earth as we want without consequences. In fact, humans are only one, if a very influential, species in our biosphere, and we are dependent and interdependent. We can't destroy everything else and have a livable habitat. Currently, the legal fictions known as corporations have been exceedingly successful in getting government to extend their rights to resources at the expense of the people and other species living here. Worse, the goal of business is to grab profits while pushing environmental and human costs back on the public and on the earth. We need much more care and respect for our habitats, and local people need to have the voice to protect them. Our current situation in which private companies are able to control essential resources for their profit is becoming untenable, especially as the world population and demand for resources grow. Even if the resource is available for a price, people who lack the money for housing or water are not able to have life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. When masses of people lack the basics, not only will people die, but the society and democracy are not stable. Our current interpretation that ignores the pricelessness of our habitat and ignores the limits of the earth cannot stand, even if we wanted it to. If we want to avoid the violence of suffering people, we instead need to be part of the movement where we together negotiate how to live sustainably within our resources. Let Columbus be at the forefront of a movement that must happen around the world. Let Columbus help lead the future. Together, let's challenge what is currently legal and create what is just and sustainable. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Charlotte, would you like to yield the balance of your time? Thank you so much. Are there any questions or comments for Ms. Charlotte or on this ordinance to place this initiative on the ballot? Seeing none, I move for passage. Please call the row.
Brown, Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Hardin.
Passed. So our next regularly scheduled meeting, thank you. Again, no clapping. Just want to thank the directors and the council for their work to get us through the first half of this legislative calendar. We got a lot of good legislation passed. Our next regular meeting of this council will be Monday, September 17th at 5 p.m. May I have a motion for recess? Please call the row.
Brown, Page, Remy, Stenziano, President Harden.
This meeting is recessed.